Folks, Ponga likes the folks. We're live.
Yeah.
All right. So, guys, we got a treat tonight. Old Card Shop's here. Ponga's here. Ray was tentatively going to be here, but he could not make it. So, hey, we got his shirt on. He's here in spirit. And but I think we got a lot of good stuff for you. So, who wants to start it off and kind of give their little intro? You know what? Let's do Ponga. You know, I know Old Card Shop. You've been on the channel before, so you can go second. Ponga, the floor is yours. Whatever you want to say, man.
Yeah, I just first off want to start saying I really appreciate you having me on. I know I've been watching your channel for a really long time now. I've been watching Josh's channel for a really long time as well, so it's nice to finally get on a live and talk to him as well. But yeah, I'm just a guy that started reselling during the pandemic. I like to refer to myself as an investor, flipper, scalper, collector, all of the above. So I do mostly online selling now, but really started off, local selling during the pandemic, really reselling Japanese boxes. So I was able to import a lot of that stuff, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later. But I think you could tell by my background, I like a lot of the foreign Pokemon products, Japanese stuff like that. But yeah, just really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, man. Glad you're here.
Yeah, likewise. And Ponga, I'm just now realizing this is the first live that we're on together, isn't it? So that is actually really cool to me. What's up, everyone? I'm the Old Card Shop. My name is Josh. I've been on Alex's channel a few times. I'll say it again. Thanks for having me, buddy. It's always a pleasure. I've recently just been kind of doing my usual selling Pokemon cards. Is what I've been doing since 2019, circa 2019. Before that, I was just kind of doing it as a collector, but recently, I've been really focusing on my Discord I just made. It's sort of focused on selling at live conventions or selling in person, because that's sort of what my big focus has been. So I'm really happy that you had me on here, because it corresponds with like the week after I made my Discord. So I'm going to use the opportunity to pump it. You were kind enough to put it in the description down below. So down below my channel link, which if you would like to follow, that's fine. You don't need to follow my YouTube channel. I don't think it'll benefit you nearly as much as if you follow the Discord, which is free, and it will stay free. And it will become sort of I want it to become a resource for people, a one-stop shop for anyone who wants to either learn about shows that are in their area, all in one place. I have like different regions where you post different local card shows, conventions specifically, comic shows, things that usually you have to look at Instagram or kind of ask someone about, or just know the schedule. I just decided to make a damn Discord. So thanks for having me on. I'm going to pump it and go join the Discord. And yeah, so that's what I'll say. And that's it. That's about it.
That's what we do here on my channel, is we pump things. So today it's a Discord, tomorrow it's Modern Sealed. But no, so guys, anyone showing up tonight, today's live is really about just all the different strategies, methods of selling, because basically you can be successful like a million different ways in this hobby. And probably a lot of times it's going to be a mixture of both. But if you find something you like more than another, there's a way to be successful in that. And I think every one of us here kind of has a little different things we do. And I mean, the reason I have these guys on is I want to learn a lot about other different strategies, because I'm always learning as well. Like, I definitely don't know all there is to know when it comes to, this hobby, especially when it comes to buying and selling, that I'm, because yeah, I've done it technically. I had an eBay account for 12 years. I've been in the Pokemon hobby for like 8 years, but technically, it's been real sporadic, on and off sales, and, just really jumping into full time. It's a whole different animal. So I guess, Josh, let's start it off. And I guess Ponga too, because he's kind of become a veteran with shows too. Let's start off with the live shows, because it's something I can't get my head wrapped around. But you are probably the most expert at this point because of how many you do, the quantity that you do. So break down the entire, let's start out from like the strategy, like what kind of inventory you bring going into shows, price points, like what kind of items, like what price points work the best, and then kind of break it down on, how much better it is than if you were to sell that stuff online.
Yeah, so I started off in the Pokemon space doing mostly singles on TCG Player and selling on like Craigslist and locally and Mercari back in the beginning. But at the beginning of the pandemic and before the pandemic, when I just scoured the internet for hidden fates, and I would buy it as low as I could, the sealed, open it up, and then put it in my binder, the stuff I wanted to collect for the set, and then sell my singles. That was all just kind of through TCG Player. Then I evolved into the live on Whatnot, and then that all devolved. But now I do mostly all live selling or convention selling, we'll call it, because like calling it live selling, I have a problem with this. Makes people think I'm like live streaming. But selling in person or at conventions has been my main source of income for the last, say, I don't know, 6 months or so. And I do about 3 to 4 shows a month, which most of those are just weekend shows. Unless it's like a Collecticon, which sometimes will go a little longer. You go in, into the week or before the weekend. But that's where the majority of the money that I make comes from, simply because I personally like traveling. And I live in California, where I can literally drive within an hour in Northern California and hit probably a different show every weekend and do pretty good numbers and sell off a good amount of my inventory without having to deal with shipping fees. And it just allows me to interact with people in a way that I don't go stir crazy, because I would just be sitting at home and listing on eBay. And it just, some people are okay with that, but I'm a social butterfly, man. I gotta spread my wings. I gotta interact with the community, So that's it. Helps me.
I mean, kind of comparing to PWCC auctions, right? Like, do you notice that because kind of PWCC, because there's buyer's premiums, things like that, but they usually go for less? Do you feel like the inventory goes for less at shows? It kind of makes up for the no fees shipping?
So another reason why I like selling in person is because I can really do my best to sell things at a premium that people will be happy to purchase, that they wouldn't necessarily go and purchase online if it wasn't just put in front of them. And so different things actually sell at shows than sell on eBay. And one of my biggest and best examples of this is talking about the Hidden Fates promo birds. Those birds, the one you get in the ETB, the stained glass birds promo, it's a nice promo. It sells for probably like $59.99 shipped for a PSA 10 on eBay at this point, maybe $50. I don't know where it's at, but it usually shifts between $50 and $75 on eBay, depending on how bullish or bearish the market is. But it shows those things move for $100 cash money every single day, all day when I bring them. So cards like that, Pikachu's, like Unagabas, the EVs, that there's a million people racing to the bottom at these, these types of cards that are really common on eBay or whatever, Whatnot or Mercari, wherever you're looking. When you're at a show and you have a nice setup and you just have a nice round $40 on it or whatever, no one's going to comp and try to say like, hey, $38, $26, because it's on eBay for that much. And if they do, you can either say sure and move it, because you're going to save by not start getting fees, and you can actually match comps and then do better that way anyway. Or you could just do what I do and be a greedy bastard and just smile and grin and say, sorry, I'm not interested in doing that. You can just buy it on eBay if you'd like and pay tax and shipping. And literally, I promise you, Alex, people, you don't believe me. No one believes me. When you smile and say that to someone, you think they'd smile, they either slap you in the face or like laugh and walk away. Oftentimes they pause for a second and say, all right, here you go. And they give you the full amount of asking. So it's just a matter of like, I don't know, preference and having a backbone. It's the same difference as like when you're listing on eBay, when you're putting your best offer on your listings, you're really not signaling that you want to sell it. When you price it, the price you want to sell it for, and if you are aware of your competition, of where you're aware of your platform, different platforms, like you were implying on PWC, things go lower than say if they're auctioning on eBay. Different platforms have arbitrage associated with it. It's not all about the arbitrage. It's more about your customer. And I've always said this, as long as your customer feels good about what they're purchasing and feels like they're coming away with a good deal, whether it's a good deal based on like objective or subjective prices, comps, what your neighbor right next to you has it for. I've literally sold items at shows that my neighbor next to me had for $5 cheaper, and they bought it from the guy right next to him for some reason. Is it because my beautiful hair? I don't think so. It might be. Maybe it is. It's good hair, but I don't think that's why it is. So, that's kind of another little secret to the sauce. And that's why you should subscribe to the podcast Cardboard Hands, because that's what we talk about, those types of little secrets. Cheers to the show.
The pumping is nonstop.
Just pumping everything today. Huh?
I came prepared. You
I
my
like
friend
it.
have some of the most happening lives in Pokemon YouTube. So I came prepared to pump the things that mattered. It's always
Keep it
good.
coming all night, man. We enjoy it here. All right, so Ponga, take it from there. Like, add on anything you have to, because how many shows have you done now?
Yeah, so I've done 2 shows so far. I did Charlotte and then Houston. So
Okay.
I'm I met you in Charlotte. That was my first show. I was trying to get my feet underneath me a little bit and try to figure out what sells, what doesn't sell. But yeah, I mean, to Josh's point, a
Which,
lot
by
of
the
the
way,
stuff.
I would have never known that. Like, you
Yeah,
seemed like you were right at home. I would
I
have
do
never
a
known that was your first
I
show.
do I do a lot of prep and take notes on when people actually talk and kind of try to learn from them as much as I can. And I've consumed way too much Pokemon content. Dan, Josh, yours, Alex, and I hear what they say. How to handle yourself and how to structure your table and how many cards to put in and where to put the price sticker and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a lot of the stuff I price at shows is basically market. Sometimes I'll knock off $5 or $10 if something, I want something to move, but a lot of the stuff you're able to get full market on. I bring a lot of sealed with me as well, which sometimes I price at a premium depending on what it is. Like in Houston, I was bringing V-Star Universe boxes and selling them for $100 a piece. When on eBay, you could get them for like $80 because they're in person. You could see that they're legit. People are going to open them, know that they're legit, and you're able to get a little bit of a premium there. But yeah, I just the in-person shows are really a game changer for me. I'm basically able to unload a lot of inventory that I'm not able to sell on eBay. I think we briefly spoke about this before the live, but for example, I was able to unload like 70 slabs to one guy, and he was paying 75% market. Now a lot of the stuff was lower end, so after fees and shipping, you're paying 25%, sometimes even 30% on the even lower stuff on fees. So taking 75% for a lot of that stuff just completely makes sense. And stuff that won't sell on eBay, like a PSA 9 Japanese 151 AR, right? That on eBay, you can't sell it for $20. Now he's pricing it at $20 and giving me 75%. So I'm basically breaking even on that card on a fail. So going to shows and vending kind of opens yourself to just getting rid of dead inventory as well. I'll use another example. In Houston, I had some Japanese PSA 10 and PSA 9 cards from the a set from Black and White Legendary Shine. Very, very niche. No one really wants them. I got them in for a really good price, and I'm able to trade those into modern liquid stuff like a PSA 10 Rayquaza VMAX from the Trainer Gallery and what is it, Silver Tempest. So I'm able to trade a very niche card to something that's very, very liquid, and then able to move that later on for really a premium in person as well. But yeah, so doing the in-person show has really been a game changer.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and trading is a big thing about that, and also being able to condition check cards. Like that's one of the things people I think love about going to their collecticons is being able to purchase cards in person instead of having to play the TCG Player Roulette card game where you pick the best rated seller on TCG Player, you buy the one with the most copies of the card, and you cross your fingers, and you close your eyes, and you squeeze your butt cheeks, and you hope for the best when it gets to you because it certainly can go one way or the other. But when you're in person, you can look at the card, pick it up, tactile, look at it, and you can buy what you want. And it goes the same for when you're purchasing cards from people or trading. So really a lot of what I'm able to do is because I grade cards, a lot of my success I've deemed, even though it pains me to say this, but in the TCG community and in making money with Pokemon, I wish I could just sell singles or sell sealed or open packs and sell what I get and have fun that way or whatever the easy way to go is. But the sad reality is I have to grade cards and I have to have a really high 10 rate and I have to do really well at grading cards in order to really make enough money to have this be my sole source of income. So like being able to be in person and pick and choose what I take in is so beneficial to my overall business strategy of really just grading and shaving off that little tiny bit of extra money, that extra, that the price between a near mint raw and a PSA 10 that difference of that money, instead of selling it raw, minus the cost of grading, which is the risk of grading and getting a 9 because 9s go for less than raw. So you always have to factor in that minus $15 and that opportunity cost when you're sending in these kind of cards. And you have to have a high 10 rate. So it's very, very good for me. And that's why I stress it's all about strategy, right? If you are not selling graded cards, you're not grading cards yourself, it's not a part of your overall strategy with Pokemon, really. I probably couldn't say that there's a lot that these in-person shows would have to offer for you. I think that that's really the biggest benefit, is having access to seeing it. You can get things for a good deal, sure, but like I was just implying, a lot of things there's like show prices, and you would think that show prices are going to be lower because there's no fees associated, but oftentimes show prices are higher. Like my Nick Retrospects and I were texting the other day. He was saying like, man, I can get my shiny EX treasures boxes for like 65 bucks. I can sell them for 75 in person and, you know, break even or do $10 extra and get my credit card 3%, cycle it, do a whole bunch of that and do it online too. And get a little, shave a little percent off the top. And I was like, no, Nick, if you're getting it for 65, I've seen it sell for 70, 75 on Facebook Marketplace. You need to be selling it for 100 at a show price, because that's what your neighbor's going to be selling it for. And he was like, what? And I was like, you don't sell much in person, do you, Nick? You don't go to many of these shows. And it was just a funny exchange, because he was like, I could tell. So I don't know. All I got to say is go to your local shows. You will see that the prices you can negotiate down typically, but you're not getting great deals. It's just like it's like a carnival. Do you go to the carnival and get good deals when you're buying a corn dog? Like, no, you're going to the carnival to walk around and get stale popcorn and have a funnel cake that, you know, was fried in some questionable oil that probably came from Massachusetts, and I'm in California. So
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I can agree with you on. I mean, I think the smarter sellers like you, yes, but I mean, I find some great deals going to those events. So that the small amount of ones I've been to, I went to a local one this weekend. I mean, it's kind of one of my big plans for sourcing next year is a bunch of in-person events, just because, like you said, you can see the cards in person. Your 10 rate is going to be exponentially higher than just looking at pictures on eBay or buying TCG Player near mint. And you know how it is, you know, cash talks. Sellers are more likely to work deals. If you buy a bunch of their cards, you pay cash, things like that. Like, I think it's all about, you know, being like you, a good seller and getting those higher prices. But then when you're a buyer, searching around for the tables that maybe aren't selling slabs, so they might not grade, and they're willing to work deals for a buyer. I think there's probably a little bit of both for everyone. Don't you think?
Yeah, I would agree. Like I don't know. You kind of want to, it's like with anything in life, right? When you walk up to a person, you shake their hand. If they give you the dead fish handshake, you can already tell they're going to be a pushover. But if they give you a nice, no, I'm kidding. It's more than that. But, you know, you can tell a person when you start talking to them. So you do probably want to, yeah, everyone's different. Every store is different. And that's the same to be said for LGSs. You know, these are all small businesses we're talking about. These are all non-fungible, you know, goods that are collectibles that don't have real market prices. So it's all about the market price and that is what someone's willing to buy. So it is definitely, you got to look at the tables. And if you go to a table like me, I'm a seasoned pro. I'm doing 4 of these a month. It's less likely you're going to take advantage of me. Whereas if you go to a guy who does 1 a year and it's just he's like, yeah, he's sitting back in his chair like this. He's not interacting with anyone. He's on his phone. You can tell he doesn't really care. He's got a lot of stuff that's well priced. And the first thing you look at and you ask, he's like, you're sure? He says yes to whatever you ask him. You can tell that guy's not a 9-to-5er. That dude's got a great, cushy, like, you know, a desk job, a sales job. He's got a tech job that he's got a wife and kids, and he's just on smooth sailing mode, and he's going for fun, and he's there to sell some stuff too. He'll give some good deals. He's not trying to make his rent with this stuff, though. Right. Like literally, if I don't make that extra $10 or $20 on that graded card that you're asking for that discount on, that's the difference between me eating like Jack in the Box that day or like getting a nice, you know, steak from the, you know, or I don't know, whatever it is, a good meal or a crappy meal. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think that's the major difference, right? So I don't do this full time. And so to Josh's point, when I go to a show, And like I said, I've done a lot less than Josh at this point, so maybe my attitude will change over time. I do plan to do a lot more next year, but I'm pricing my graded stuff right at last sold, like my most liquid stuff. And then, I mean, I use the example of V-Star Universe selling at $100, but all the other boxes I brought were basically market price. And so I can't tell you how many times people come up to my table and say, "Wow, that's the cheapest one I saw," and they buy 3 of it because it's so much cheaper than everyone else.
Yeah.
And I'm already, I bring a lot of Japanese boxes. I was buying Raging Surf boxes for $30 and selling them for $70 at the show, while other vendors were buying them for me for $70 and probably marking up to 90, $100. And so I'm doubling my money. Please make money off of me if you can, because I don't need this to pay my bills. And so I'm good with just taking my profits as I price stuff. But like Josh,
I hate that though. I hate letting other people make money off of me.
Yeah,
if anyone
sure.
makes $1 off of me, I lose sleep at night. So that's the difference there.
And there's definitely things that like I'm this is my price, right? Like there's things that I price high on purpose because I think the value is higher than what you might be able to get it online. There's absolutely a lot of items I have that are like that, and those ones don't sell for me. So I think it's, your perspective on what you're really going for, and what you need to do with the money that you're really getting out of it.
Well, first off,
for you, Alex, I want to shift a little bit because I don't think you've been getting enough airtime here. And this is a question I was wanting to ask you on this stream, because you recently went full time in the last couple of months, right? So I'm curious, have you done any, without getting too much in the details, and I don't want to make you
I'm an open book, man. You can ask me anything.
No, and that's why I know you'll probably answer fine. It's not a problem. I didn't mind springing this on you. I didn't preface this or something, but I was curious, have you been able to sell a lot, or have you had to sell a lot since you've gone full time of your personal inventory, or have you been kind of doing the flip and using only the profits, or have you been kind of doing a little bit of both, bleeding into out, maybe not paying attention to it? Because it does sort of change things, when you think about it a little bit that way, I think. Or that doesn't change things, but it's a different situation, because I remember when I first started going full time, I felt like it was I've been doing it now full time, I think over 2 years at this point. So it's now I'm not working off any of my original inventory anymore. The only thing original I still have is my binders, and then there's the Saga box and my old Vintage Magic sealed boxes I have, and other stuff that I just couldn't sell right now if I wanted to. But yeah, have you been doing your own inventory, or what have you been doing for selling?
So first off, I want to shout out Mr. Walrus, because he's never in my chat anymore. So it's nice to see him back today since Ponga and Josh are here. Hey Walrus, dude, you're allowed to come back any of my other chats where it's just me or someone else, man. It's okay. But he's and then wants to learn how to swim without getting in the water, just go Ven, dog. So I am going to get into more of those questions in a second, but I'm going to answer Josh's first. So the only thing I've sold out of my personal stash investment is I haven't touched any of my sealed or any of that. I had my first edition base PSA 9 set. So I had every card except the Charizard, and I mean every card, all 102 of 103 cards. In a PSA 9 except Charizard. So I have all that listed, or it's scheduled to be listed. It's just about there. And I've been selling those. So some of the first edition hollows have sold, some of the commons, uncommons, rares, and trainers, and all that's been selling. So that's been helping. I did kind of not really plan it, but I knew I was going to eventually leave the job I was at. So I really was ramping up my PSA orders. So I started getting a lot of cards, 50 to 100 cards a month sent in. So I had those orders already rolling in. And then I'm continuously doing that. I mean, I was just, scouring TCG Player. I was spending thousands at shows I would go to, just buying up inventory. And so I had a lot of that. And then it's just been kind of rolling from there. And so right now, I mean, probably 12 to 14,000 a month is what I'm moving in terms of sales.
That's more than I'm moving for sure.
That's solid for sure.
Profit, I couldn't even tell you profits. The first edition base, it's I can go look what I paid. I technically could find the profits on that, I guess, if I really wanted to go back and look. But it's just kind of coming from all over the place right now.
Well, I don't even have a store on eBay anymore. I don't pay for the store anymore because I have to do at least 3,000, or it's between 3 and 4,000 a month for the fees to really pay for themselves. Then you get the extra like $100 shipping, and I do just under that on eBay a month. I do like between 2,000 and 3,000. So I do very little like actual online sales on eBay. But across other platforms, I'm spread out across like TikTok right now is a good platform, or was for me for a while. But very much so, my online sales are much, much smaller than they've ever been in my entire time vending in Pokemon. Over the last 6 months, it's been like that. And I think that's a benefit in some ways because it's like, I mean, it's easier as far as like not having to go out on all this inventory hunting, like across different online platforms, just having all my stuff in a big box, a big bin that I go from weekend to weekend and travel from show to show. It's really easy just to set up. And the only thing I have to do is a little bit of price adjustment when I get new. And the way I do that is like I leave all my prices just as they are. And then when I get a big new shipment from PSA and I'm like putting my inventory and kind of putting it back in for the next show, then I'll adjust some prices as I, what will happen is I'll get another PSA 10 of the same card that I still have. And I'll be like, oh, shoot, I still have this card and I have another one. I better adjust the price a little bit of this. And then I'll adjust the price of both of them, So.
And then how it breaks down. I mean, it's basically eBay's the big one. That's gonna be like the majority of the sales, and then I do TCG Player, but that's really just for my like any singles where if they're selling for around the same price on eBay, I'll cross list them. A lot of the times I sell for more on eBay, so I won't even bother. So my TCG Player Store is really small, and I don't list any cards under $1. I don't waste my time. But then I sell probably a good 15-20% of stuff just Discord and Instagram, just because because I'm an online personality, so people just reach out to me and bypass the eBay thing. And so it doesn't really work out better for me because I pass on the savings to them. So it's kind of the same as I would make on eBay. So I know other people probably make a little more, but I mean, I just try to be fair with it. So I mean, I probably sell about, 75% eBay, 20%, Instagram through or Discord through like, PayPal or Venmo, and then like another 5% on TikTok, or not TikTok, TCG Player. That's kind of how it breaks down for me. But going into like next year, everyone, like, I don't even know how many people are telling me, you got to vend. That's why I started making those joke videos about it, because, everyone not everyone, but there's people that act like it's just like a money printing machine at these collecticons, or these vendings. I'm just like,
let's pump the brakes a little bit on that. I'm with you.
You're not one of those guys. That's why I wanted to have you on, because I want the realness, and because how I'm talking about. People just over exaggerate and act like it's. And so I just kind of want to get I want you guys to sell me on it, right? And sell the audience like what are the major benefits? Because in my mind, like here's what I'm thinking, right? Let's say like an average Collecticon, it costs you about $1,000. Like Ponga said, it costs around that for everything all in.
Or more, depending. That's in like cheap airfare, and you're really shaving down. You're penny pinching, trying to really cut costs. You're only doing one table. You're sharing a room with someone. Sure, $1,000. Realistically, $2,000 is what you should be. I mean, I always go with my fiance. She helps out a little bit usually. So you should, if you're doing it alone, you're going to have a lot of trouble holding a whole table and like being able to go use the bathroom, enjoy yourself, literally do anything. So
yeah. So hear me out on this, and then you guys can both respond to it. So here's what's swirling my, like, cause I'm real analytical. I always I really plan out my stuff before I do it. I'm just kind of like Walrus was saying, dude, just leap in. It's like, I try to plan things out like with numbers. And so I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, let's say it's between $1,000 and $2,000. Say it's $1,500 to go do a Collecticon after, the tables, the cases, the travel, the meals, the hotel, everything all in. Okay. Well, I'm thinking like, well, how much do I have to sell? Well, if you sell 5,000, let's say you get full retail price, no shipping, no fees. It's like, okay, well then you paid 1,500. Okay. Well, I'm thinking, well, even if I sold that same 5,000, I just threw it all at auction on eBay. I took 15% under market price and ate the fees and shipping. It'd probably still be close to what I made even after paying all those fees. So like, I'm thinking, so I'm going to have to go to these Collecticons and these shows. I'm going to have to sell like 8, 10, 12 grand to really make it worth it, not to just sit at home on my butt and keep letting stuff sell online, because otherwise I'll come to shows, I'll come walk around, I'll source, I'll get a bunch of cards, I'll hang out, have a good time, but I won't be tied to a table. I won't be working. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, you said some of the benefits, but like kind of talk me through, work me around that brain block I have with the expense and costs associated with selling, and how am I going to profit more than just moving all that stuff online?
Yeah, I think it's really beneficial if you have a lot of either stuff that's not going to sell online, like I used the example of the Japanese PSA 9 AR. But if you have like I brought a binder, for example. The binder itself was 300 cards or whatever it is, and I think it was valued at like $1,250. So there was some like $30 to $40 cards in there, but there's a lot of low end stuff that I'm just never going to list. I had someone come and just buy out the entire binder, and they offered 75% of that. So I'm selling $2-3 cards in that binder for basically 75%, which you can't ship for. I mean, selling online, like you're going to lose a lot more in fees. And so, and then he also like worked in a bunch of slabs into that binder, right? So for me, it made sense to make, I don't know, $1,000 to $2,000 selling this binder and a bunch of slabs in that deal compared to selling online where, yeah, normally on higher end stuff or $100 slabs that you might be paying 15-20% fees on, I'm able to basically get more in person by having that type of stuff. So I use the example, I just went to Houston, right, in November. All in, I spent a little under $1,000. I roomed with Ray, so I saved money there, obviously, like Josh said, if you stay with someone. I had one full flight paid for because I travel for work, so my flight credits. And then I'm basically able to source Japanese boxes for $30 and sell them for double in person, which online they're selling for $50. So I'm able to get a premium there. And so all the premium on top of the lower end stuff that I actually sell in person, I just can't do that online. Now, if you're only a person that's selling $150 slabs and up, I mean, it just makes too much sense to just sell online.
Yeah,
so
and
what would you say is the best stuff, like singles and sealed?
Well,
so I bring everything. Yeah, I bring everything because every show is going to be different. Like, I mean, I can't explain. Like in Houston, there was someone at my table 100% of the time looking at my binder.
Collecticon's different than your local card show, though. So that's a good question to give differentiation to make because, like,
hold on, Josh. First, guys, respond to Walrus here.
Yeah, so
is 1,500 out of is that average? Or is that...
So I will say you can definitely get away with vending for shaving pennies and being as cheaply as you can for under $1,000, like $800, $700-800. You're sharing a room. You're really eating cheaply. You're not doing the dinners after Collecticon and all that. And you maybe bring your own case or whatever it is. You're shaving everything you can. But if you have a second person, if you're not sharing a room, you're getting your own room, you're not pinching pennies. I think that 1,000 to 1,500 or even higher than that. I actually plan for more than that. And I don't want to be anyone's advisor here, and that's not any of our places. But also I will say that if anyone's doing it as a business or if you're doing it for more than just a hobby and more than just kind of weekend thing, not everything, but a lot of that's, you could write it off. So like that, the cost of the travel, like you want to think about a lot of that can be written off. You're keeping good receipts. I can't give tax advice, but consult obviously with a professional because I'm not a professional, but you can definitely pad those costs a little bit if you're doing it more than just as a weekend thing. But that's not
100% right. But I will chime in a little bit, like, because write-offs get thrown around so much, and I've owned business my whole life, so
you have to be making a lot of money to have a write-off make it worth it. Yes, you have to be making.
What I'm saying, to anyone who doesn't understand write-offs, what a write-off is, if you don't know, you're writing the amount you spent off of your total income, which lowers like what you owe on taxes. It's not like you save $1,000 on your taxes. You say if you're in the 20% tax bracket, you saved 20% of that money. So yeah.
Yeah, so basically you're gonna without getting too much into details, you're gonna pay a lot in taxes because your cost is so high unless you show them that you had to pay a lot to actually get that much money, and so you have to pay less of that by writing it off. I'm not a tax advisor. Go find real help. Go find some other YouTube channel that actually specializes.
Get Dan on here.
Yeah, get Dan or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not the place. But the point is, it's not a true cost if you're a business and if you're actually making some money and like you're going to owe money at the end of the year, you can use that to offset the cost a little bit. And so that's not neither here nor there. We're not really talking about that too much because I don't think that's going to help the everyman, you know, that's watching this video. But if you're a business person, you might want to consult your tax accountant or whoever helps you with that, or look into getting one, because you could definitely find a way of saving on your taxes that way, probably.
So what do you have to say about the in-person selling? Like,
but okay,
you know,
but yes, Collecticons are far different than your local, you know, weekend show like I was talking about. And I am not a Collecticon. Like, I don't preach Collecticon being the only way or the best way. In fact, I think it's one of the less good shows of the year as of now. And now that I'm seeing in my Discord all these other shows being posted all in one place and planning out my year of vending, Collecticon, I don't know, how many are you going to? I'm going to 2 Collecticons this year out of 12.
really?
Yeah, I think I'm doing like 2.
No, 3. I'm sorry, 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing 2 and then Card Party. So
yeah, and so Card Party. So my 2 are New Jersey, Chicago, and then LA. I forgot about LA because it's my home state, and I don't think of like having to travel for it because I could just drive there. But I'm traveling for 2, and I'm going to 3. And then I'm doing Card Party. I'm not going to travel for many other shows because of exactly what you said. You really have to make a lot of money at these shows to make it worth the cost of like getting on a plane, cost your whole weekend. That if you work full-time, other than this, if you're a full-time card person, you're like, yippee. But if you work full-time, it's another job to get on a plane to vend for a weekend and then on Monday go back to work, you know. Or maybe, God forbid, you're taking Monday off, you're using PTO because you're vending at these shows, and then you're robbing Peter to pay Paul at that point. So like, you know, different things sell at Collecticon. The person behind me at the local show I just vended was kind of complaining about how he didn't really sell very much. And I was literally thinking I was canceling my Dallas trip because the next show at the show I was at locally was corresponding on the same weekend as the Dallas Collecticon. And I was like, well, looks like I'm not going to Dallas anymore, because why would I pay $1,000 to $2,000 when I could literally make that much or more less than an hour from my house? But then the person behind me, I was like, hey, are you going to Collecticon? He's like, oh, God, yes, I'm not doing this. And I was like, wow, why? And I looked at his case. He had all like the $400 or $300 skateboards. He had like a bunch of really high-end PSA 10, BGS 10 black labels and shit, really high-end inventory. There was nothing worth under $100 at his table. He didn't sell booster packs. He sold sealed booster boxes of Japanese, once again, like $100 or $70, $80. And so nothing moved for him at these local shows. So he said to me, I have to go to Collecticon to move these high-end items because it's a higher end clientele. People pay $30, $40 just to get in the door. They travel to go to these big events. They're going to buy their grails, and they're more willing to cash out for that.
What are these local events like? You know, what are the table and case costs compared to Collecticons? Is it substantially lower?
Yeah, so a Collecticon table last year, the ranges were between 200 on the low range to about 280 on the high range, and that depends on if you bought in bulk in a big set of 10 tables with other people. It depended on where it was, all these different things. This year will be different. I don't know how it's going to be different. They haven't put the table prices out, but I would be willing to wager money that the price is going to go up, and that gets you a table for 2 days. At a local card show, I'm usually paying, and this is on the high end because I'm California, because I see in my Discord what other people are paying at other shows. It's usually for most people between $75 and $125 for a table for a 1-day show, or even less than that for a 1-day show. And I'm getting them for like $150, and on the high end, $200 for like a 1-day California show. And that's once again California. They tax you on everything. The chat's gonna drag me for living in California. I don't care though. California is amazing. I'll say it now.
And then take like a above average like show in California, right? Yeah. How does like the traffic and sales there? You're not traffic. Who cares about traffic? How do your sales there compare to a Collecticon?
Absolutely. So the reason I was canceling my Dallas Collecticon, so the type of inventory I sell is all under $300. I have very little things at my table that are over $300. So at Collecticons, I do about the same as, you know, at a local show. at a local show that's really got good traffic, that I feel is well advertised, that has like a good area, has a lot going for it, a well-established show, I can pull in between $2,000 and $4,000, maybe a little under if I don't have good inventory and it's not good, it's a bad weekend or something, and that's just like one day. And the same thing could be true for Collecticon. I do about that same thing. Maybe a Collecticon I'll do closer to 7,000 or 8,000 if it's like I hit a jackpot and I really sell out, but then I'm leaving with no inventory.
Per day or per weekend there?
For like a day, for like the big day. And then so for a weekend, it'll be, I've never had a 5-figure weekend at Collecticon. I know that a lot of other sellers talk about these big, like I did almost 10,000 or whatever. Like that's not true for me. I don't sell that kind of inventory. I always joke my eBay is called selling bags. I'm a garbage man. I sell garbage. I sell mystery bags, PSA 1s and commons from like the mid era, EX era that are PSA 10 and low population for like $50 each. So like, I'm literally not that kind of a seller that sells high-end stuff. So like it really does matter to me to get those costs of traveling down. Yeah. And I have to look at that sort of situation and what sells in person.
Pong, does that sound like kind of in the same ballpark as where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do local shows, so I don't have that to compare to. But yeah, I mean, to Josh's point, I mean, I'm not selling 5 figures at these shows either. It just like, you know, the type of inventory I bring there is stuff I know is going to move. So it's really just like, you know, it's going to be different for everyone is what I'm going to say. And like everything, it's not always just black and white. Things are going to be better for certain people compared to others. And to Josh's point, I think, you know, Collecticon does, if you have higher end stuff, that's definitely going to be better to bring there than a local show. I mean, there's just,
and it's more Pokemon based. It should be. Yeah. It should very much still be specified that when you go to a local show versus going to a Collecticon, for me as a seller, I love the fact that it's only 20 to 30% TCG, we call it. Whereas Collecticon, you're not going to see literally a sports tent in the entire building. They're begging sports vendors to come and have tables there because they want more of a sports presence, but they're a TCG con. Whereas like the local shows I'm going to, the reason I can sell things sometimes at a premium from what you would at even a Collecticon, I can probably sell those Hidden Fates birds for like $100 at a local show, but at a Collecticon, because everyone else is going to have those Hidden Fates birds around me and everyone else is a Pokemon, you know, seller, I'm going to have to probably do 80 or 75. So that premium is going to be even less and I have to pay more to travel. So I'm even less incentivized to want to travel to those types of shows for that situation. So it's all about what you're selling. It's all about where you're selling it. Location, location, location. That old axiom holds true as well. And it also helps if you're in a big show like Collecticon, if you are selling booster packs, you need to be by the front of the building. If you are in the back of the building, you could sell your booster packs for $1 each. Well, okay, that's not true. You could sell your booster packs for $2 under the price of what they're selling them for at the door, and not a single person will buy your packs. They'll all tell you that, oh man, I wish I would have seen you, you know, when I walked in and spent all my money at that other place that ripped me off, you know, whatever it is.
Honestly, a lot of what you guys said, it was kind of what I was thinking. Like in my mind, like from who I've talked to, I feel like the majority of people selling is probably in that like $3,000 to $10,000 range at Collecticon or something like that.
If people were pulling more than that, then I'm going to literally feel really bad about what I do, because I thought I was decent at what I did, and I do this a lot, and like I'm doing this constantly, and like I can't pull those types of numbers, and if I am, like I'm having to spend $10,000 on a box, and then I'm making like $500 on the whole thing after it, and I'm not going to be counting, you know, that. I don't, you know, the risk reward isn't there.
Well, it's one of the reasons, Dan, I love you, man. I didn't Dan on this one is because it's so hard to like compare with him, because he's got such a large inventory, such high-end stuff. He's got consigners giving him high-end stuff. He's got, you know, old vintage boxes with heavy packs. It's like, it's so easy for him to go have a really successful Collecticon or successful show and sell tens of thousands of dollars. But I just don't think it's realistic for an average seller, average person to do that.
An average person, no. I mean, I vended next to him in Charlotte, and
there's nothing average about Dan. Okay?
No. He is, but he's worked to the point, right? Yeah. So he has people that he talks to beforehand that are going to buy 20 heavies from him, right? And that's thousands of dollars right there before the show, right? And then you know, he'll bring boxes. I mean, during Charlotte, like the Nagabas were huge, right? And he was able to just bulk them all out to one person. But I have the same cards right next to him, and that person's not coming to me because they know Dan, right? So it just, you should never compare yourself to someone that's like that. And
yes, the biggest way you'll feel like a failure in this hobby
Yeah.
is you start comparing yourself to Dan. Please don't do that. If you're listening, if you ever start comparing yourself to Dan, just stop. First of all, ask yourself this one question. Did you drink oil for breakfast? Probably not. Okay, that's your, and then you've already got one over on Dan. So there you go.
I mean, I'll have this conversation with Dan on live at some point in the future too, but I still don't know if it really makes sense for even him, to be honest with you. Like, because I've seen him open.
It does.
No, but I've seen him open boxes on his channel. He could literally sell out a base box on his channel selling light and heavy packs. Like, when you get to a certain point as a creator, like a personality, you can do enough business on your own without the collecticons, I feel like.
So yes and no. There is something to be said. There's something to be said with doing cash sales in person and going to have a weekend with all of your friends in the hobby. There's something to be said about it. And I know that Dan is certainly, I don't know what Dan's financials are, but I certainly know that he could use a few more write-offs. If I know one thing about Dan is he could certainly use a couple write-offs at the end of the year. So I don't know if the financials traveling wise will always make sense for it if you're really looking into it for Dan. I love him to death, but I think he does it for other reasons as well that include having a good time, vending, you know, having a couple beers after the show. I've seen Dan and like he likes making money, but making money isn't his number one intention when he goes to these shows. Like he'll tell you otherwise. He'll say, I always want to make money, because he does, but he's there to have a good time. Like, the man is not hustling and grinding like after the show or whatever. He's not going to trade night and trying to make sales and stuff. Like, he's there to have a good time, to lay back, have an IPA. Have
I agree.
Things, you know,
I guess my thing is like, because I've been to a couple and like, I know there's that part of people walk up to your table and offer you, you know, good deals and collections. So there's that side of it, but there's the other side of that too, is you're not tied to a booth all day. Like, I am 100% confident now. If I go to Collecticon, I am making more sourcing than I paid to go there. 100%. I mean, my PSA order I got back where it was like 126 cards.
It's business during Collecticon hours.
All the cards were from Collecticon. It was like a 40% profit margin because of all the 10s I got. Like, I know the money's there to make just by going around sourcing, and I'm there. I can hang out, have a good time, do all the same stuff everyone else is doing, but I'm not tied to a booth and selling and doing that all day. So I'm just trying to kick around like, is it worth it for me to sell there? You know,
I mean, you have to try it before you knock it. I know you haven't a table yet, so you do have to try that one time before you decide you're never going to do it, kind of thing.
Of course.
Because I did the opposite of you. I vended after I did the same thing you did. I attended my first one. It was Long Beach, the first year they did Long Beach. And I didn't want to sell. I didn't even bring my trade stuff because I wanted to purely experience it. That was my whole thing. I wanted the experience of it, right? And so then after that, I sold my next one just to experience the whole vending thing. And I love having a home base. Like, have you ever been to like a race, like a motorcycle race, where instead of being in the stands, you have your own tent, or you have your own little like cabana or whatever, or any kind of like a NASCAR, any kind of race or a situation where you have your own space that's yours within the event that's happening? Vending, to me, and having that chair behind it with your homies and the people around you that you know you're vending with, it feels like having that little cabana, that little like,
well, that's what you guys are for.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And if you have friends, and that is true, that if you have friends who have and that you're cool with that. I don't want to spend most of my time walking around and then sit for 30 minutes. I'd rather have a home base and have people come to me and then like interact with people that way. Cause like, you don't know how many people come up to me, and like, I'm such a small channel, but people that I used to sell to on Whatnot, they'll hear my voice from across the room. They'll be like, hey, are you the old card shop? I'm like, as a matter of fact, I am. And then it's so gratifying to just have that happen. So like, I don't know, maybe I'm biased, maybe I'm a little jaded because of that. And having a table to me is special because it gives me that home base that I sort of crave. But it goes outside of Pokemon. Whenever I'm at an event, I prefer to have a place that I can go back to and put my bag under, you know, and kind of be and really relax. So that's to me what vending is like. So I will never not vend a show because to me it is my comfort zone. Now that I've done that enough that it feels second nature to me. But if it didn't feel second nature, if I was feeling a little trepidation about it, it wouldn't feel that way. And I could totally get how you'd feel like, I don't know about all that. So
well,
you
I'm gonna say right now, I mean, those local shows, I 100% believe in that. I mean, 100, $200, no travel costs. You just go there for a day. Like, I 100% understand why you're doing so many of those. Let's try to shift gears a little bit. I know we've been on this subject for a while. Let's switch to the buying side. So let's kind of talk about where you're sourcing your cards. Are you sourcing sealed? How are you handling sealed? Are you breaking it down? Are you opening any product like in mass to get inventory or to grade things? Like, what's everyone doing with the whole buying side? Ponga, you can start it off on this. I mean, what are you buying? You know, do you buy things to sell?
It wants me to spill everything.
Take it wherever you want.
Well, I want to hear this too. I'm curious where you guys source from. Maybe not exactly what, but like where and like the majority of your place of your
be specific as you want. You know, just whatever you want to say.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm a little different. I don't do it full time, so I don't necessarily have to source things to sell all the time. So, like you say in your videos, I source a lot of modern sealed English stuff. You know, sources like everyone else, you see the Safari zones, all that drop prices, and you buy there before it sells out. But also places like, you know, MVP that I've had an account with for a few years. That's an invite only store from buying from them. You get an invite and build up your account over time, get better pricing. But then I've also over the past
MVP sucks for anyone new, for everyone out there. So
I don't buy from them anymore. I mean, the pricing just doesn't make sense anymore. But you know, 2 years ago, you were able to buy Unified Minds for $120 a box, Hidden Fates for under $100 in ETB, all that kind of stuff. Battle Styles cases sub $500 when they were selling for $150 a box. So you were able to do that kind of stuff. But I mainly source all my English sealed stuff from whoever has the best price, and by just being friends and nice to people, a lot of people also help me out on the side as well to clear inventory. So that's always nice to get close to distributor or sometimes under distribution prices without actually having it. I do a lot of sealed Japanese. That's what I like myself personally. That's what I collect, and that's what I like to resell the most. Sealed Japanese obviously got really weird in the past year and a half. I used to be able to source stuff for basically MSRP or under in as much quantity as I wanted. I always use the example with Shiny Star V. It was orderable in basically unlimited quantity before release. And that's what I was doing. I was just ordering tens and tens of boxes over and over and just cycling through that. So now the sourcing the Japanese stuff has gotten a little trickier. I have some connects that I met on Facebook. You could just go on the Facebook Japanese groups, and there's a bunch of admins and mods that sell through them. The first couple times use PayPal, pay an extra couple percent, make sure everything's legit, and then you're able to pay them through Wise. So there's no buying fees there, and a lot of them have basically market price. Well, sub market price by like 10-15%, but it still works out just by sourcing that kind of stuff. I don't really source any of that kind of stuff on Buy or anything like that. And then sourcing through, I used to buy from the website Japan You Want a lot. They actually blocked my state, so I can't buy from them anymore. They basically sell all Japanese boxes at MSRP. You know, EV Heroes, they were selling at MSRP during the last reprint, stuff like that. So I used to source from them a lot. And then shifting off the sealed stuff, I mainly only grade Japanese. It just allows me to get like 95% 10 rate. So why would I grade anything else?
I remember when I used to play games on easy mode only too.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, I don't do it.
Is it still like that?
I mean, my last sub, I basically got all 10s. I got a couple weird grades. I actually got 5s on completely mint cards, but that's what, I mean, it happens.
So where are you getting those? Is that your opening product or you're buying it?
No, so I mainly just source that off Buy, so Mercari Japan, and that's not really a secret anymore. So many people have talked about it at this point. It's not a secret. I mean, there's so much supply on there. They have 20% off coupons that you're able to source stuff. You know, the week or weekend of release, go on the website. You know, you're going to have to search in Japanese to get the keywords down. But once you know what to look for and you have experience buying on there, you're able to source that stuff for under eBay price and actually get it faster than eBay. If you source Japanese singles on eBay, sometimes those sellers could take a month and a half to ship it to you, and by the time it gets to you, it's already too late. But yeah, it's you know, obviously when you source those Japanese singles, you have to be careful and really know what you're looking for. A lot of times you'll see like these large lot of cards that look too good to be true, and that's because a lot of them are scams. So you have to be a little experienced there, but that's, you know, for the main part, that's basically all I source from now. Recently, I've been sourcing a lot from TikTok. I have like 4 or 5 accounts, and Alex, I was telling you before that there was one account I had that just never got rid of my coupon, and I was just able to reuse it over and over. And so I was just sourcing a bunch of V-Star Universe, and all that kind of stuff. And most of my sealed stuff I brought to Houston was all sourced through TikTok, and I was basically able to double my money just by doing that. So kind of source from all over the place, and really just look for the best deal, because I don't do anything specific. I just buy what's a good deal and try to flip it.
And so you don't mess really much with any type of English grading.
I mean, if I have it already or I buy it in person or something, maybe, but I don't go to eBay and say, well, I'll use an example. I was looking for a Celebi alt art, and if you look at eBay on that card, 99% of them are off center. So I don't want to spend 2 hours of my day looking for a copy to grade and make $50. I'd rather just go on Mercari and order 50 copies of a card and get 40 of them that are gradable. And
is that average? Like, so like if you bought 50, about 40 would usually be gradable of a card?
It varies. I mean, I've had large orders of a couple hundred cards that basically everything was gradable, and I've had orders where like 40% is gradable. It really depends what you're sourcing. So when you're looking at Japanese singles, right on release, you're able to see a lot of listings very quickly, and a lot of them are like multiples in the same listing. But if you're looking back like 5, 6 sets back, it gets a lot harder to source truly mint cards. So, and I don't really source older stuff either, which is also a challenge there as well. Like if you go back to black and white, XY, all the even further back. So, but yeah, I mean,
it's important to have a good sourcing place, though, is what it's sort of like with Ponga, with Bai and everything. It seems like that is working out pretty well for his sourcing, but I know that you don't deal with Bai really, right, Alex?
No, I've never used it. I mean, I know, you talk to Retro all the time. I know it's
his best friend, and I've still never ordered, or I think the one order I ordered off of Bai during the pandemic, it was fine, but I forgot even how it went. So I think I've either never ordered or ordered only once off of it, but.
So hold on, before here, Josh, I'm gonna have you go in a second. I'm gonna ask one more question. So so I'm trying to figure this out myself. So when it comes to Japanese cards, you said you'll get like sometimes you'll order hundreds and almost all be gradable. So you'll grade hundreds of the same copy, and I mean, how long? I mean,
so I never go all in on one card. When I say like if I buy like 100 cards, it's a variety of stuff, right? Like 20 of them might be like different ARs from the newest set. 5 of them might be the alt art hit, stuff like that. I don't do enough quantity to make it make sense to where I buy 200 of a card and grade 150 of them and try to go through that much inventory. I just don't move that much inventory.
And neither do I. And that's why I wanted to ask you, Alex, about, and also you, Ponga, about like how much of that you're doing versus how much are you just kind of waiting until something comes to you and buying a good opportunity or watching auctions or strictly sourcing. Because like, I don't have as much to say about like sourcing because I've already said everything I can about, I source everything in person at this point these days. But I want to know if you guys
source everything in person?
The last time I made a TCG order and I've stopped. I had a bad habit of overbuying and watching auctions like obsessively on eBay, constantly looking for things sealed, vintage. My biggest thing I would always put in was like vintage sealed Pokemon, and I'd watch auctions and I'd try to watch things go really low because it would always go just disgustingly low. Because say what you will about vintage, but we can all be in agreement that you should never ever auction vintage. I think that's the worst option that you could possibly do in this market. So I watch it a lot. I finally have cut that toxic habit out, and I don't scroll auctions, and my watch list isn't something I'm pulling up every day all the time. But like, I don't source cards from TCG Player, from eBay or anything anymore because I have so much out that I've just been able to accumulate that's comes to me at shows that's just random, that I can't remember the last big thing, but I know that that's something that what you just said, Ponga, like buy 40 copies, 50 copies of something. When I was during the pandemic buying a lot more online, I would look for those types of things that I could do. But like, I don't have a honeypot of like one card that I can like keep going back to the well, you know. It's the old joke is the Celebrations Charizard, but I don't know, like, why doesn't everyone just do that if it's such a honeypot? It's like there's limitations. There's always limitations, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and it's all about like what you want to do. Like, you know, if you want to be a high volume seller and kind of like constantly be working, or if you're looking, you know, you just want to kind of be more selective and try to hit like higher margins so you don't have to sell as much, which that's kind of what I've went into. Like I started out when I got in, I went really heavy. You know, I was buying, you know, I would have like 200 card, you know, TCG player orders, like, I don't know, a few a week. Like I was buying like hundreds and hundreds of cards. I was pre-grading all of them. I was just sending them all in. And I found out really quick I didn't like that, especially because, you know, a lot of them, you know, maybe there's a good margin technically, like percentage wise, but like dollar amount, there's not. Like, you know, people always say, I made, you know, 500%. It's like, okay, well, you bought a $5 card, you graded it, now it's worth 40 or 50. Like, then you sell it for tax fees and shipping. It's like you made 10, 15, 20 bucks. Big deal. You know, and I really decided I'm going to go after more of the high end stuff to where I'm making at least like $50 to $100 a card to where it's actually worth, you know, my time to go through all that. And so, you know, that allows me to not have to grade, you know, hundreds and thousands of cards and, you know, grade less. And as long as my pre-grading is good enough, I'm still getting high enough 10 rates. I'm just kind of really taking that route. But again, like my strategy is a little different because I kind of have like a big pot of things I'm trying to do here. Like I got the social media. I do like doing pack breaks on the channel. You know, obviously the stuff that goes around with social media, there's sponsorship, there's affiliate links, and then like selling is a part of it, right? So it's like I'm not really ever trying to get selling to be like the 100% of my income. So I'm just trying to get it to enough of the pot to where it, you know, is, you know, helping sustain the income type thing.
I think that's the most important thing that people listening to this should understand is that it's impossible to do it's not impossible. Nothing's impossible, but it's very unlikely to do one single thing and find one thing that works and just literally do that and make your whole business on it. You're likely going to find that one thing that works, and the market's going to shift a little bit on it. Other people are going to find it if you talk about it. PSA ones.
Hey, hold on, stop right there. I have 2 Charizards right now. They're gonna get ones, man. I bought them damaged at my local card shop for $50 each.
I ruined it for everyone because that market softened as the bullishness of the market softened here.
Well, for base set Charizard, it's always going to be there.
The market has. Say that. Sorry.
No, the PSA ones. I mean, the base set Charizard's always going to be there for it, I think. But yeah, probably not every card.
Yeah, no, like there was a time where I could send a whole submission of PSA ones and they'd sell by the time like my next submission was almost through like grading. Now I'm getting a second submission back. I'm still like halfway, like only 5 or 6 cards from the first one have sold. I'm like, okay, it's time to stop talking about this. Time to realize we're in a different market.
What do you go after for ones? Is it just like vintage, like high-end stuff or what is it?
It was for a long time I was collecting gold stars. Like I collected PSA ones personally, gold stars and Charizards that I would never want in a 10. And then I would sell off extras because I'd buy them for so cheap in auction. I'd just grade them, say what the hell. The premium would be there to grade. It would be like a $75 gold star I could sell for like a $300 PSA one. Now that same $75 gold star, which is still $75 raw, that hasn't changed, is like $110 PSA one, and nobody is paying. They're like, I'll just grade it myself. Because I'm joking. I don't think I ruined that market. I'm too small of a content creator. It's the market in general. We're not in that bullish of that is one of the biggest indicators of that. I personally think the market's really strong, but the fact that the PSA one thing was a thing for so long was the biggest indicator that it was irrationally strong. Now it's getting to be more of a corrected strong, and it's to the point where I'm very comfortable in it, but it's like you actually still have to be you can't just be dead brained about it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, guys, it's not really a question for Ponga because he grades Japanese, so it's all easy, but I guess more for you, Josh. Like, do you look at any metrics when you like goes into grading cards? Do you look at like the 10 rates, how easy it is to grade them? Do you look at like what do you look at when you're grading cards? Is it literally just what a 10 can return you on what the raw price is?
So the metrics, okay, well, those types of metrics, like what's my threshold?
What do you decide to send in?
So you listen, for me, you're talking to the wrong guy. It depends on the price of what it costs to grade and where the market's at. This whole box is full of cards that I think I'll send when it gets below $10. And there's stuff in here.
Well, CGC is below $10.
Like this card right here. Pokemon Fan Club from the new Celebrations, or not Celebrations, Classic Collection. Trainers, literally trainers that are worth nothing. Those should be sold for like 10 cents on TCG Player. That one I think will 10, but I'm not going to send it at $10. I'm not even going to send it at like $8. That's probably going to sit when it's like $7 in 10 years from now or 5 years from now. So I have boxes for different levels of grading because I also sell cards like, what is this? Where's one that just sold? Here we go. Here's one. This one just sold. Roseanne's Research, PSA 10, non-hollow, Secret Wonders, Trainer. It has a Piplup on it, a waifu card, right? It's got Roseanne. There you go. That sold for $59.99 on eBay, shipped, okay? That's not something that I can make a business on, right? But it's a mint card that I graded at under $10 that when I sell for $59.99, I'm making greater than $20, $30 of profit on it on a card that I couldn't sell for 10 cents, even if it was near mint. But it's not something that anyone in this stream is going to go out and buy 10 of and be able to do. Go ahead, bro. Go have fun. Go have fun doing that if you're doing that. But I promise it's not a good idea.
Yeah, and that's one thing I need to get a lot better at. I'm kind of terrible at sitting on things.
You have to be able to be patient. That's exactly. So Alex,
let me throw this at you guys. I know a lot of people are like, I guess not a lot, but certain people we all know and talk to are against auctions, right? A lot of people don't like auctions. For me, if I'm sitting on inventory, right, and I see like anything I have listed, it doesn't matter if it's 9 to 10, whatever it is. If I have it listed at like $29.99 or $39.99, and I see them ending at auction like $5, $7, $8 less, I just send it at auction. Like I'll eat that little bit of money to have the money right away and then keep going instead of like hold out for that extra $5, $6, $7. Like, how do you guys feel about that? Like, would you rather just kind of sit on the inventory and wait it out, or do you like to kind of get things moving, and even if you're going to take like 10% or 12% less on the item?
Yeah,
to an extent. Like I'm not auctioning $100, $200 cards, but like sub $40, $50 cards. Like, do you think it's worth it to auction it, or? I mean, Josh, you probably just wait for shows.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I that's the kind of stuff I bring to Collecticon. So, and I'm able to cash it out at 1%. But I think it makes sense at times to auction stuff. I mean, you know, if you're doing massive volume, I think it makes a little more sense. Now, in my situation, I'll just let it sit because I don't need the extra $20 to buy what I'm going to buy. So,
I guess I should preface it also by saying, like, it's cards where I have like 10 copies of it, and I'm just like, okay, this is not selling, and it's going to take a while to sell through. I'm just going to kind of auction a copy each week and just start freeing up some money type thing.
It depends on the market. If it was a market like we had in 2021, where I felt like auctions went really high and things went really well, it's really, really strong, I would probably do a lot more auctions, and I did a lot more auctions back then. But I personally don't run auctions anymore. The only thing I run auctions on are like my packs, my graded packs that are not PSA 10s, because literally no one will buy a PSA 8 graded modern pack. They will in an auction, in a forced liquidity, they'll buy it for some low price, but I can't put that in a mystery pack. I can't break it out and regrade it and make it worth it, because the way they grade the packs, they crimp those MFs, and they really damage the packs when they grade them, to the point where if you're to regrade them, they're not going to get a 10 again. It's ironic, but
I mean, I'll just throw like a random one out. Like
I don't run auctions though, Alex.
Yeah. Like the
gold, I don't run them either.
The gold Reshiram, like the gold Reshiram Charizard, and it's like the SM247 promo, right? Mm-hmm. I graded a bunch of those. I got a lot of 10s, but I got some 9s. So the 9s I've listed at like $29.99, and some people will undercut me and stuff. I'll throw them at auction. They'll go for like $24, $27. It's like
that's a card
holding out for $25.
Yeah, so I'm not throwing a card like that in a mystery bag because so here's a good time. I think we talked before this. We're going to talk about mystery bags because it's a very controversial subject within the community. It's something that I, as a creator or whatever, or a seller of mystery bags, I've been right in the crosshairs for a lot. But I have always sold mystery bags on my eBay listing for my $19.99.
Well, you also sold on TikTok, so I mean,
I sold Whatnot, eBay, Whatnot,
so,
yes, and I did sell mystery bags on Whatnot. That was where my mystery bags on Whatnot were legit, though. Like the difference between mystery bags on a live selling platform like Whatnot, you had to put sauce in those because you're opening them all up right then, and people are, you're not dumping bad product. I would source I would do mystery streams where the whole mystery bags were like all themed, where every bag had a theme and they were each individually curated because they were all intended to be opened together. So it'd be like a Neo theme. So all of them had Neo cards in them, or one of them had a pack or something. So like it was a little bit different on Whatnot than the mystery bags I do on eBay. The eBay mystery bags are far worse and they're far cheaper. And they're simply meant to dump bad inventory or inventory that I personally wouldn't want to sell as like a single listing on its own. And if you look at, you can even pull my listing up if you wanted to live. But
I don't know how to find it.
Okay, that's fine. But basically, what I sell, I sell 2 listings on my eBay page.
Hey, you can pull it up and share your screen.
Let me see. Okay, let me pull it up then. Hold on. Let me get eBay here.
Yeah, you just hit the present or share screen thing at the bottom. You can pull it up. Yeah, because I don't know why, guys. Everyone out in the chat, like, why is the mystery items, mystery boxes, like the subject of so much concern? I feel like it's exactly like Patreon and paywalls were like back like a year ago when we used to have all those like paywall discussions in this space. Like, I don't understand why it's an issue. Why is it an issue that people like? I mean, is it really any different than a pack? You could say, well, a pack has, guaranteed hit rates, it's Pokemon official, all this BS. It's like, guys, people just want to have fun. They want to gamble. Like, if it's not for you, great, let it be. But it's for others. Don't like put down others for buying it. Don't put down others who sell it. It's another way to enjoy the hobby. Like,
okay, don't buy my mystery bags though, unless you want a PSA 6 or 7 vintage common or something. I'll be 100% honest. Don't buy my mystery bags.
You don't have anything of any, like no one can hit anything good.
Okay, there's like modern crap that's garbage. Like there's like PSA 7. There's like a couple PSA 7. Like, so none of the cards in the original picture. This is from like over a year ago.
I don't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah,
okay, hold on. Let me pull it up. Let me.
So down like the middle bottom, so it should be like a present little thing. It says present. If you hit that, I can pull it up.
Present. I should know this. I use this on my podcast.
All right, there it is.
Okay. So my 2 best. Okay, so here we go. So this is my eBay. Can you see? Can we see here?
We got it.
Okay, so my 2 best, the only things I sell on eBay really are these 2 mystery bag listings. I have a PSA 10 all gem mint graded $49.99 mystery bag listing. And here I'll show you. This is
one card
that were in the original bags. But okay, none of these are, I mean, there's maybe a Radiant Charizard still in there, but basically the way I get away with selling and grading and having misgrades is because I have an out. And this is not something everyone has. This might be controversial. Most people say you can't really do this because it's unrealistic. People who grade a PSA 9 of that Roseanne's research. Well, okay, that's not a good example because in my mystery bag listing, it says you don't get a trainer or an energy. So I actually can't dump my trainer cards or my energy misses in this listing here. But I've sold how many of these? How many have I sold here?
Anytime NN approves of something, he'll eventually do it. Get ready for sausage holders. Hey, hold on. I'm going to respond to that right now, actually. A long time ago on Pokenomics stream, I think it was PK and someone else, they were debating paywalls. I was 100% in favor of paywalls. I still have no paywall myself, so that's not true, Mr. Wallers. I will be in favor of other people's money-making ideas, even if I'm not doing it myself.
Okay, so that being said, before the Nostalgianomic mystery bags start, I'll give you the breakdown on how it sort of works out. I sell $19.99 slabs for a mystery listing with no shipping. It's free shipping or whatever. And you can get a bulk discount. I think you get like 10% off if you buy more than one or whatever. And I make $11 to $12, depending on where it's shipping into the USA, on each slab that I sell in that listing. That's after the fees, after the $4 shipping or whatever it is. So I'm not really making money on that, and it's still losing money on grading fees, but I'm able to dump slabs that I otherwise would have to auction, like you're saying, for like, and it's auction for sub $10. And I could also intake slabs from people at these conventions, which is something that also helps out very much when you have a bunch of people walk up to you with a bunch of junk slabs that they've been turned down all day long by everyone, and you take them from these people at trade value for $7 a slab. I can suddenly sell these mystery bag listings and send out an offer, for $2 off of them, and sell a bunch of them and dump all of that, get good feedback, get reviews, all this, et cetera, and then get trade value, which is 70% for junk slabs, and help these people trade into something at my table. So I'm like making a sale and I'm cycling inventory. And then I also have this $49.99 mystery bag for my Gem Mint 10s that I grade, that when I grade are maybe higher than a $50 card when it's actually being sent. But then when I get it back, the market's turned. Maybe I didn't do my research well enough. It's gotten under $50. Usually those cards are going to be like, right at that $40-50 mark. And so it gives me the ability to sell something without having to care or look. And I put a sticker in each one. So it's like if a kid's opening it, they open it up and they get the slab and a sticker. And it's like, it's not rocket science. I'm not being a saint. And literally, it's a sticker. It's not special. It doesn't cost anything. But I do feel like if you're a child, you're opening up a slab mystery bag and you get like a Pokemon sticker in addition. And you're like, okay, cool. That's an extra little something. Because I don't think that a lot of like adults are like opening mystery products. And if they are, they're doing it. I don't know why they're doing it, but a lot of kids I see like the gamble of mystery products. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a good thing. I don't know if it's a bad thing, but it's a thing. And so I think about throwing little tiny things like that in for the kids. Not that it helps any, or does anything bad or good, but that's the only reason. But yeah, most people aren't going to have this out. My listing cooks. I just sold a couple today. And the $49.99 one doesn't as much. Like I get a few of those. Like this one's not going to have it says 29 sold, but my other one also only said 20. It said 30 sold, but that's because it's a new listing. I just had to take it down and put a new one up last couple months, so it's not as old as this one. But but yeah.
So Ponga, like, okay, show comes around, right? You got, what'd you set up with, like a table and two cases? You said.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So how do you break that down? How do you break down like, slabs, singles, sealed, and then like what's kind of the price range is the best you think?
Yeah, hold on. I'll just real quick on mystery bags. So because we talked about this on Poke Flips, and at the time I didn't have organized thoughts because it was kind of the new topic, and so I wanted to like sit back and think about it. So I think I'm never going to be the consumer of a mystery product. I hate that feeling in my stomach when I open a booster pack and I get nothing.
Do you even open packs, Ponga?
So yeah. I do. Yeah, I do.
Wow.
And like I used to do it a lot more. I don't do it so much anymore because I hate that feeling of wasting money. And like, yeah, you could make the argument that you had a good experience and all that kind of stuff, but like,
you've never opened a mystery power box?
No. So the only ones I opened were the original Walgreens ones in 2020 that were basically one vintage pack per display at Walgreens. And you could basically feel with your hands the heavy ones and know that it had the vintage pack in it. So those are the ones I've opened. But the thing is, like with mystery products, is I don't mind them when they're super transparent and are very transparent on what you're going to pull out of it. Like I always refer back to like what PokeRev does on his booster pack ones, where he has, okay, like the lowest level, you're for sure going to lose money, but like here's a bunch of packs, but like you also have a 1 in 10 chance to get this type of pack.
Yeah. And you noticed in my listing, I didn't have a first edition Charizard in there,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
In my PSA 10 listing, I had a Radiant Charizard from Crown Zenith, which is about a $40 card. As like, so it's not like I'm not trying to sell that you're gonna get a PSA. And also in the listing, if you read it, it says you are going to get something that's going to be worth a little more or a little less, but most likely less. It literally says most likely less. So
so you're a good example, right? You're transparent and you're not advertising something that's not possible. Now,
but it is a Charizard there. It is a Charizard.
Yeah, but it's not a $50,000 card, right? Now the other side of things is, we're super deep in the hobby, and when you say like a 10-year-old kid might open Josh's mystery pack and has that full art Charizard promo that's in a PSA 7 or something, like he might think that card's really cool and not necessarily care
here's the kind of shit that a kid might get in my mystery bags. I have a stack of garbage slabs. This is actually not too garbage.
So it's garbage value wise, but like if I'm a kid and I see the Espeon card, like, and it's $20, like you might not care. And so there's also that side of things where I think there are some people that like to open them just to get something cool that they might not know about. But okay, so to answer your question. Yeah, to answer your question,
but it's not the worst either. It's just like stuff that I couldn't sell for more than $20 for sure.
Yeah. So I just think that's like another way to look at it, right? Like someone might think what they're getting is cool and find value in the card itself and not necessarily care that it's worth $5 less than what they paid for it. So, but yeah, your original question, you asked me how I set up. So the first two shows, the way I set up, so I typically get one table and then rent 2 cases. Now you could put the cases sideways and basically fill up your whole table. I put mine vertically, and then I put all my sealed in the middle.
Oh yeah.
And my wife actually has like these cool like vinyl record stands and stuff, so I could stand stuff up and make it vertical and like have some layering to it that makes it look a little better. And then I put
that layering. Yes.
Yeah.
That's important.
And then I put my binder out in front in the middle of the section so people could flip through it, but they're not blocking like the slabs that are off to the side. Now like the Collecticon in Chicago that, I'm local to there. So I'm going to be having 2 tables and only 2 cases. So I'll probably have a full table itself just with bigger sealed stuff because it's easier to travel with. And then, yeah, so it's really like I like to have it visually appealing. So, there's some people that just have 200 slabs in a case and that's their whole table. I like to present myself as, hey, I have slabs over here on the corners. I have a bunch of sealed in the middle. I might have some sleeves just all over the table, all over the place, just to give it some color and pop. And then, have like a plush or something from like Japan that I bought to get Nagaba promos or something, right? But yeah, that's how I typically structure it, and that's just kind of like how I like to look at things. It's simple, it looks clean, but you're able to fit a lot of stuff around at the same time that gives that variety.
And what would you say the majority of the slabs are?
That's the way to go.
Yeah, so like the majority of the slabs, what would you say, like between like $20 and $200?
Yeah, so I'd say probably somewhere, most of them in like the $40 to $100 range, and then a couple. Like in Houston, I had one that was like a $500 slab, stuff like that. Just a couple.
Okay.
And that's just most of my expensive stuff's all sealed stuff. So I don't really buy $500 singles and grade them and sell them for $1,500. That's not my model and what I like to do. I don't really like grading cards in general. So kind of sticking to the lower end stuff makes me be able to stomach it a little better. So.
All right, Josh, what do you do? The same, different, anything to add?
So what Ponga is describing is basically like the goated strategy, the 6 foot, one single 6 foot table, 2 cases turned either vertical or horizontal. And then in the middle, you kind of sandwich in your stuff that you want, whatever that stuff is going to be. For me, it's a pack dispenser that gives a little height on the back. And then I have my sign that I usually stack on my mystery bags. So it gives myself a little height, and then my sign has my name on it in the middle of the table. And then in the front of that, I have my binder kind of opened up so people can it draws people to the front of the table. I have my singles out in my top loaders and my, the nicer singles on the back of the table so people can look it up or pick pick them up and look at them and still have to be kind of engaged. I don't put stuff on the edges of the table that can walk away typically. I put my slab cases on the edges of the table all the way out. And then, I just try to put plushes and put little spots of color. If I'm local, I can do a lot more. I have a shelf that I bring with me that I build. But if at a Collecticon, I don't really do a lot of building of shelves. Or I always thought about getting one of those big things that you would put on top of the table that kind of go up and over, and you can have kind of like a banner over you. I always thought about doing one of those, but it just felt like a lot of extra work. And I think that it helps to have a vertical banner to give yourself some height, especially if you have some sort of like an online presence and you want people to be able to find you. Because there have been times I've been lost in the crowd of Collecticon, and I feel like if I had one of those big flags that just had like an old card shop thing waving or whatever, that would be huge. So
it's wild, dude. I mean, I went to like a local show like 30 minutes away, and I couldn't believe how many people recognized me and like wanted me to sign cards and wanted, to tell. It was pretty crazy. But oh man, if I do it, no, we're going big. We're doing wheel spins. We're doing dice rolls. We're going rip till you hit. I mean, I want to have every type of game imaginable at my table.
You're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna be competing with some pretty big carnival guys there.
That's okay, man. I mean, we gotta have fun, right? We can't just sit there and have cards. That's no fun.
Yeah,
you're gonna need a whole section then. Yeah, you can't just do one table if that's the case.
Oh no, we're gonna get a section. Go.
Yeah, see, when you're talking about like whole sections, that's when the price really goes up, right?
No, but I mean, you guys, I thought for sure Josh would have some of that stuff, like, because honestly, like, all joking aside, I would want to do like, I like that kind of stuff. Like me, I'm a carnival junkie. I'm like, love like Dave and Buster's type stuff. I mean, obviously, I enjoy playing games at casino. Like, I would definitely want some type of like something like that at my table for sure.
The farthest I go is I do make mystery packs for the convention specifically. I make between 21 and 28, and I bring like 3 or 4 vintage packs that I seed in there. So like if you ever want a true gamble with a mystery pack, that you ever have a chance of getting like a real vintage or something that's actually worth more than what you pay, rather than me just dumping stuff, only buy my in-person mystery packs, because I have to sit there and watch you open them in person, and I want you to get something good, because then you're going to be like, yeah, and then other people want to buy them, and I've seeded 3 or 4 good things spread out, so it can happen a couple of times, and it still doesn't really hurt the odds that much. So that's the farthest I go with that like gambly type stuff in person. And I do make specific bags that I don't sell online that are like for the convention that are typically a little bit better, I'll say. That maybe that's a little unfair. Maybe that's like I don't know, not ethical to do that. But it's simply because it's the convention. I know that that's what the people are there for. And to the point of the godly chat in the chat, like if you are selling a gamble to someone, like you can get something good, you want to put that gamble in there. And at no point is a mystery bag on my eBay selling some sort of a gamble. So it's like a totally different. When you're putting odds though, there's a difference. You need to actually have good odded things. But I don't do spin wheels. I don't do that. I didn't even do that on Whatnot. I didn't do any of those games when I was on there. I've always been very against it. The only thing I did is rip till you hit, because that's actually, it's worse for the seller. It's favored for the buyer typically if it's priced well. So that's typically how that works.
Yeah, and I think like
10 or 20 slabs all in mystery bags and saying, hey, I got one $500 one here. The rest are $50, $100 $100
that
pool.
never worked. That never worked for me. It worked for bigger things. I didn't really push it that hard, so maybe that's why it didn't work for me. Maybe you have to do it a few times and fail.
I think my problem is, like, I'm actually one of those type of people like enjoys that stuff. So like, it sounds fun for me. I'm like, dude, other people have to think that's fun. And like I'll tell you one thing. I told you. I think I told Dan. He laughed at me when me and my wife went to our first Collecticon in Kansas City. Dude, I did all that stupid stuff. I played the wheel spins. I played the rip hit. I played the.
I think it's wrong when a platform allows it and doesn't regulate it, but I don't think it's wrong for people to choose, the customer to choose to spend their money anywhere. And that's always been,
it's got to be 100% fair. I agree. There has to be a legitimate chance to win.
Yeah, and it's hard to audit that. That's where my problem comes in with it, and that's what always been sort of my problem with it. You have to like trust who you're buying from, and I just don't trust anyone, so I don't expect people to like have to trust even me. Like, I don't expect you to, I shouldn't expect you to have to trust me for anything. The platform that's taking 10, 11, 12, 13% should be stepping in and giving you some confidence behind that. And I just didn't feel that way with Whatnot and the whole like gambling and, you know, the mystery. It just got out of control. I made a whole video on it on my YouTube, actually. I think it was in January that I formally took my 13,000 followers and like left, told Whatnot, if you don't clean up your act, then I'm leaving. I used to supply them with, not to get into the details, with one whole employee. The amount of streaming I did on Whatnot supplied them a whole salaried employee for a year. And they would never listen to me whenever I'd complain about like the breaking street date on the platform, which is something I griped about particularly much, because I would never break street date because I have a real distributor. I actually care about my relationship with my distributor. I also care about my competitors. I don't want all of you, my competitors, to succeed because I'm cheating in some way. I want to succeed and I want you to lose because I beat you fair and square. And I have enough respect for my competitors to not put them at a disadvantage by essentially stealing product and selling stolen product at an advantage that more ethical businesses just wouldn't do. Now, I would certainly love to do that. I personally, if there wasn't the ethics involved with that, I would sell early and everything. Well, like I said, I respect my community of other sellers. So I would always gripe about it. They never do anything.
And so you're never going back to Whatnot?
No. At this point, they've shown that they are not interested in changing directions or paths. They don't have their customer or the buyer, the person that they should really care about the most isn't me, the seller. It's their buyer, their customer on their platform. And they don't have their best interest in mind. It seems that way from all I've seen. And that's what I've seen displayed. And until I can say that they have their best interest in mind, I do not support it now. So
how much do you want for your account?
What was that?
How much do you want for your account then?
$69,000.
$1,000.
And 420 cents.
All right, let's do it. 1,004.20 cents. I'll PayPal friends and family right now. Let's do it.
Yeah, and it's simply, for me, it was a line in the sand. It wasn't profitable. It was becoming less profitable, I should say, at the time. It was on a serious downturn. So I don't want anyone out there to think that I'm some like moral high ground, even though I paint myself out to be that sometimes. I do have morals and ethics. I promise you, I care about that. Things will keep me up at night, but that's not why I really left the platform. That's a big reason why I was frustrated because of that. It pissed me off, absolutely, when I'd go and see people getting railroaded on other streams and I could do nothing about it but just watch my friends who I would sell to, I would say my customers, but also my friends. Over the years, I'd become friends with some of these people, get taken advantage of. It irked me. It rubbed me the wrong way. But it was beginning to be less profitable. And I was already moving most of my platform over to eBay because I think it's a more long-term viable business, because I saw eBay Live coming out at that time. And also they opened the floodgates to sellers on Whatnot and they stopped vetting them. Now I've heard that the people, when they onboard to Whatnot, there's like onboarding Zoom calls with like 40 people in it. When I excuse my French, I'm sorry, but when I was on Whatnot in the beginning, I talked to Grant, the owner of Whatnot, in traffic in LA. He vetted me out because I was one of the first 10 sellers on Whatnot for Pokemon. And I talked to him about where I got my stuff from, where I sold from before, how I cared about my shipping. He cared about the sellers on his platform back then. I just don't think they care anymore about the sellers on their platform like they used to. So it's a different situation.
Ponga, where do you stand on all this stuff, man? You've been pretty quiet over there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even open the Whatnot app, so I don't really have much to say. The only time I've ever bought something on Whatnot was I had a $10 credit, and it was recent. I bought like one of those Pokemon prize packs for like $3 because one of my main goals is to collect one of every pack, so that helped check that off. But yeah, Whatnot as a whole is just clearly all in it for money, like Josh said, and there's just tons of stories. And if you're not one of the biggest sellers on the platform, it doesn't really make much sense. So,
I mean, and this is like I'm never on Whatnot either. I don't even have the app, so I wouldn't even know. I just know from stories you hear about on YouTube and stuff. So I've never been on there before. But do you think it really makes you guilty just by association? I mean, I've talked about this with like people. It's like just by association. If I'm on there and I do everything on the up and up, and I never take anything off camera, and I make sure everyone has their legitimate packs out of booster boxes, whatever it may be. Are you really, at fault because you're on a platform where others may do some shady stuff?
I don't think so, but I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of sellers on Whatnot that do it all legit, and but the problem is there's just so many sketchy people on something like that unfortunately that a lot of people are just going to associate you with those people, I think. And if you're,
couldn't the same thing be said for Buy-E? Like,
yeah, for sure.
It happens, like you shouldn't, but like you buy on it and you get legitimate stuff all the time.
Yeah, but I think like those platforms are just like more established over a longer period of time to where I'd say a majority of people are doing it all above board. I mean, when I've been on Whatnot, I'll join a stream because like some guy's doing a giveaway and he's just straight up lying to people because no one knows better. Like when Japanese 151 came out, like one of the bigger sellers on there was selling packs for $20 a piece when the boxes online were like $110, and he is straight up telling people that you cannot get product from Japan anymore. They're cutting off all supply. It's not getting reprinted. And like that's one of the largest sellers on the platform. So clearly he's like the respected one. These other platforms, a lot of the people that do a lot of the shady stuff are like small people that might have like a few feedback or brand new accounts. But like,
yeah,
from Whatnot itself, like it seems like the biggest people on the platform are the ones that are doing sketchy stuff. And unfortunately, when the largest people on the platform are doing it, it just gives the whole platform kind of a bad name.
I get it. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like you, Josh. Like, I have morals too, and so like anything I do, I have to think to myself, like, one, would I ever do this, and two, what's the like, why does this make sense? And like, I think that's the reason I'm okay with box breaks is, as long as it's a reasonable price, right? I think to myself, well, why would someone want to participate in a box break? Well, maybe they don't want to buy a whole box, but they can afford, or they want to buy like one pack and they want to like go super gamble, or maybe they want to buy 4 packs and spend things I do. And so it makes sense to spend like 15, 20 bucks instead of spend hundreds or whatever to buy the whole box and take the huge risk. So like, that's why it makes sense to me, as long as it's priced right and you're not trying to gouge people and you're 100% on the up and up. And so like, but yeah, when you start getting to like lies and like way gouging people and like trying to make, I understand it being so like, I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I think if you do it right, I don't see anything wrong with it, but I can see you going too far for sure.
Well, when I left the platform, what was currently the scandal, the straw that broke the camel's back for me was in Crown Zenith. Crown Zenith English got released, and it was released early on the app, and packs were being sold for about $50 to $75 a pack. And it was about a month early. So it was like way earlier than even distributors got it. So it was a situation where it was legitimately like an early shipment to a distributor. A distributor made a backroom deal with this Whatnot seller or a store that then made another backroom deal with this other seller. So they had these 3 levels of separation between them. So then they could have this like, oh, I don't have any distributor contracts, bro. I don't have anything I'm breaking. And then trust and safety from Whatnot, the way they respond to something like that is they don't necessarily regulate what's being sold as long as it's not like actually stolen contraband. They're not going to care about street date. That's on your relationship with your distributor. They're not your distributor, right? Whatnot's just a platform that's there to take their 10%, their cut. But that's where I always felt they were wrong, is I felt like they were more than just that platform. They had to be there facilitating, and they actually had to be curating their platform if they're going to have these sellers on it. And so they allowed this to happen because they just kind of closed their eyes to it and say, well, that's on your distributor. If these people are breaking street date, then you can report them, but we're not going to get in the middle of it. So I'd always report them. I would tell my distributor, I'm a narc for that. I narked out so many different sellers on Whatnot to my distributor, who then went straight to Pokemon Company. And I don't know, to my knowledge, they still to this day did nothing. So to me, when I left, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, was the Crown release, English release. And there was also a stream that at the same time was happening where I watched over 1,000 packs of Silver Tempest be opened, and not a single Skuntank V was pulled out of the entire stream. And guess what the bounty was for? It was for a skunk, not a specific alternate art one, not the rainbow or whatever, only any skunk tank. And it was so funny watching the streamer railroad his entire audience for over 1,000. He went 3 days of this shit. Excuse me again, but it gets me hot thinking about it. It was like he was getting over $150 because he had this like stupid bingo card he was filling out. And it's like all you had to hit was the skunk tank V to finish it. And it was like he was nothing was hitting for over 1,000 packs. And I think Rattle covered this at one point. So I don't know.
I guess it just like comes to greed. To me, I don't
get
it.
He resealed those packs, dude. He and his girlfriend in the background was giggling as people were not hitting. It was infuriating me to watch this because that's how statistics work. And it's also I could see how he's resealing them, and like I could almost hear her in the background because they were going through the packs so quickly that she had to be resealing while he was streaming. It was wild, man. So yeah. Anyway,
well, and this is
Camel's back for me.
And this isn't me trying to be like all holier than thou, like and act like but it's just like why you don't need to do that. I mean, you can see when brand new sets get released, everyone on these platforms is all selling the packs way above. Like you can just sell them, make a great profit, and keep everything all the up and up. Why are you doing that? Like it makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And back then, it was much more bullish in the market too, and it didn't make even more sense because you really didn't have to be doing that. Like as the market comes down and it becomes a little bit more competitive and things tighten, the squeeze comes on the economy a little more. You will see that happen. There's more scams that will happen. People will be trying to get a little more creative with that, how they're going to be squeezing that extra, and it's not right. It's certainly not right, but it's gonna happen. This was not during that time. This is like last year, and so. It's pretty crazy, but it's just one of those things. Like, I personally don't. To go back to your question though about whatnot, I don't think that people are guilty for being on the platform by associated. That it's never been that for me. It was more about I didn't. So I could always take account for what I was doing. That's never. You can always be personally responsible for yourself. What I had issue was when I wasn't on the platform, when my customers would leave my stream because I would stop streaming, they don't close the app and leave and go to sleep like, oh, Josh isn't streaming anymore. I'm a loyal customer. I only buy from that trustworthy. No, they go to the next stream, and they stream hop. Or the person who's never heard of me before, I'm never going to be the first person who's on your list. You shouldn't be expected to know who I am. You should not have to know that who the trusted sellers are or who the non-trusted ones are. You should be able to go on the app, look at the top one on the app, have every single person on that app be trusted because they're taking a cut of it, and you should be able to go to the top one and be a reputable stream. And there was never a time, there's still not a time where that is the case on Whatnot in over a year's worth of time now. And so that's why I left, is not because of anything that I couldn't do. It's not like, oh, I couldn't run my stream like above water. And as long as I stay above water, that's all that matters. Everything else on the platform, I don't care about. It's like, no, it's because it's a platform that's being pushed. I'm saying I support it by doing that. And I'm giving them money. And like, I'm basically saying that I don't care what happens when I'm not on it. And that new people to the platform, they're being expected to have all this extra information. Like, no, that's just asking too much. So I left the platform for those reasons.
Yeah. Ponga, what are your, we didn't really get into your, like, what are your major like places you're buying from, or like is it really just everywhere? I mean,
whoever has the best price.
All right.
I show no one loyalty.
Gotcha.
Is it
ever eBay or TCG Player anymore? Or you kind of like off of those?
I honestly don't think I've ever purchased something on TCG Player. So it's mainly online shops, and what I said before, the Japanese stuff, and then friends and stuff that I've built relationships with that I'm able to get some good prices on stuff that they don't necessarily want anymore.
Well, hey, you take the first question too. Brad's asking. Mm-hmm. What are you guys' bread and butter plays at Collecticon, or any show, I guess we'll say?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've only done 2, but I think the thing that works really well for me, if I were to just pinpoint one thing, it's binders, and having a wide variety in what's in the binder, that has always done really well for me. But I'm not a fan of having bread and butter plays. I do bring stuff that I think is going to do a little better, but I like to just have a little bit of everything. So I know that's kind of sitting on the fence answering it, but that's just what I like to do. I like to have every single person that's at the con, I want them to come to my table and possibly find something that they're actually looking for. And if you only do a certain section or a few things that you're going to bring because that's your bread and butter play, it might not cater to that person.
I don't have it with me, but my main play at Collecticon is my Magikarp hat. If I don't have my Magikarp hat on, then I'm going to have a bad Collecticon. There was one Collecticon in my entire history that I didn't have that stupid hat on, and it was Fort Worth. And if anyone who follows my channel or if anyone's ever watched my podcast or listened to me talk about Collecticons, you all know that I don't call it Fort Worth typically. I call it Fort Not Worth because that's what it was. And so that was because I didn't have my Magikarp hat. And so, no, the biggest play at Collecticon, the best thing I can tell any seller isn't necessarily what to bring. It's going to be, well, it is kind of, bring your A game. Because when you go to these Collecticons, if you're the guy who I described at the local show who's just sitting back on his phone, leaning back, letting everyone pass by your table, has just 2 cases filled with slabs, but nothing up vertical, nothing to set you apart from the slew of 200 or 300 other tables in there, you're gonna probably have a not as good of a time as someone who's like standing up, who planned, who thought about it, who's coming there ready to sell, who's engaging with every customer who walks by, who's like, hey, how's it going? What's your favorite Pokemon? I've got X, Y, or Z over here. Come check it out. You like, booster packs? I've got these ones. If you are engaging and bringing your A game to these Collecticons to sell, you'll do a lot better than if you're not. So that's what I would most likely say is like, that's more important than like, as long as you have some inventory, having your A game personally is almost more important than like what you bring in some regards.
Yeah, I really like what you said there. I always see people just sitting down with they just look miserable. I'm always the person that's standing right up at the table, making eye contact with people, because when you make eye contact with someone, they're gonna walk up and not necessarily walk past you. And a lot of these people at these shows aren't like a real social person, or at least some of them are. And so just making them feel comfortable at your table, and even if they don't buy something from you, just having a conversation with them and treating them like they're a person and not just your customer. I think that's really benefited me. And then the other thing I'd like to add on top of that is we're able to vend with friends that we have online in our Discord and stuff like that. And
join the Discord.
knowing what other people have in your section and directing people. Now it sounds weird, right? Like you're directing people to spend money with someone else, but if I know someone has a specific card, I will direct that person to them, or that person might have a bunch of English alt arts. I'll direct that customer to them. And so if you have a bunch of people around you that do that, you're going to get more traffic than you would if you were just there by yourself as well. So I really like vending with a lot of people that you trust and know will advocate for you as well and care that you make sales as well.
Yeah, you guys hit the nail on the head. Like both Collecticons, when I left, me and my wife talked, that was the number one thing I said both times. I said, it's amazing how 90% of the people here just don't know how to sell. Just sit there, or people come to their table and they'll just kind of stand there, stare at them, it's really weird. It's like, dude, just be friendly, make them ask what they're looking for. See if you know what they're looking for, you can direct them here, or like you said, send them to your friend, or if they're kind of just looking, show them some things, show them some deals you got going on. It is strange how many people have booths and just don't try, or standoffish. I don't know, but since I've never vended, I'll answer this question by my favorite plays of finding cards are going to any booths where I don't see any slabs at the booth. And then I'll even start looking and talk to people and ask them, be like, hey, so do you do much grading yourself? And then when they say no, I spend a whole lot of time at that booth and I look through almost every single card, and I usually end up buying a whole bunch of cards from them. And so that's my best play is finding the people who don't grade, that have a lot of singles that you can source from, I would say.
And I will say it's a little bit of a joke, but in Charlotte, I was vending next to Dan, and he literally had a line that was blocking my table on people that were wanting to meet him. And so there was several times where I'd be like, hey, anything you're looking for or anything like that. And they're like, no, I'm just waiting to say hi to Dan.
Well, part of that was probably because everyone was sending all the all the trade up challenge people over to Dan.
Yeah.
Oh God, trade up challenges. I'm glad that whole thing, that trend has sort of gone away. I don't get many people with trade up challenges anymore, but last year in Orlando, it was like at the peak of trade up challenge time. I was turning away left and right. I was like, no, sorry, no trade up. I'm trying to trade up. I would start saying this to kids. Sorry, kid, I'm trying to do a trade up challenge too, trading up for money. And then they didn't like that. They didn't think that was very funny, but I thought it was funny.
I think it's funny. Have you ever experienced any card shops doing shady things? Example, resealing ETBs or booster boxes, resealing packs, posting them. I have not.
No, that's really bad for the hobby. If anything like that's ever happening, like I'm really, like I said it with Whatnot, I'm a shameless narc for something that I feel is like ethically or morally against what I feel is wrong. It's not like a situation like, it's a tattletale. If I feel like you're doing something that's ethically, morally wrong, I'm going to say something about it. I'm going to tell who it matters. I'm going to make a big enough deal because for me, in this particular space, if you get scammed, if you have a bad time buying from X, Y, or Z seller, you may leave the hobby and never, ever have a chance to come and buy from me again. You'll never tell your kid. You may have such a bad time getting scammed, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. You'll never want to join the hobby again or buy another card. That is such a bad thought to me because I want to do this for the long term. And I see anyone as a potential customer because Pokemon has such a big, wide appealing, fan base that anyone could be a customer. You're not going to outgrow it. You're not going to be too young or too old. So like, to me, someone leaving the hobby is so much worse than the $5 you're going to get off of them scamming or whatever or not saying something about it in the case of this question and like letting that store just go. Cause it's like, it's not my place. Like, no, I'm a seller in this community. It's my place to say something. In this case, I say something about it, but yeah, it's a good question, but no, I haven't ever seen that though.
I think the shadiest thing that used to happen a lot more is large stores selling allocation before they actually know what they're getting and then having to cancel a bunch of orders later on. I think that's super scummy. It's just taking a large tens of thousands, sometimes six-figure loans to pay off your bills.
I think that's scummy too, and I've always spoken out against pre-sales. I've never even run pre-sales ever. And it's been a situation where I've always been in distribution during the pandemic or right before the pandemic. So like I never did pre-sales because my distribution was always kind of like up in the air because everyone's distribution was up in the air. No one ever knew what they were going to get really. So that even confused me even more when I saw stores doing these big pre-sales. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's a little bit scummy too. But
I think pre-sales are fine if you know what you're getting and you have a good relationship. But like it was just happening left and right. Like these stores would put up these huge pre-orders and like sometimes the stores would just close their shop and try to not refund people, right?
And that's a scam and a half. Like the loan thing is just kind of like that's really questionable, and it's kind of like I don't do it, but other stores, whatever. I guess I'm just not going to participate. But like closing doors, that's a real risk, and that happened a lot. And there were even some content creators that kind of did that, and that's not good. So that kind of thing, all bad.
And on the flip side of it, from the store's point of view, I really also don't like when, and it used to happen a lot more when pricing was jumping up and down, people order from a store and then with the intention to cancel if they find a better price like in a week, because a lot of times these stores have to eat those fees that you're canceling. And then those same customers will also complain that there's a cancellation fee when in reality, it just, Josh is leaving.
I just said MMA, man. I never boxed. I did a few martial arts. I stuck with MMA. It was just it was the thing I liked the most. It was the most well-rounded. Everyone's asking about what Josh is drinking. It's apparently the question that I won't take. So whenever he gets back, he can let us know what he's drinking. What is it? What are you drinking, man? What they keep asking what you're drinking. What is it? A lemonade?
Yeah,
it's
lemonade.
Just lemonade, guys. You
or
guys are
organic lemonade.
You're freaking out.
Green, baby. Costco rules everything around me. Or Kirkland rules everything around me.
All right, so I got a question I wanted to hit on. We didn't really hit on much. and we talked about it a little beforehand. Ponga can go first because he's not trying to do this full time like me and Josh are, because it's probably a lot different answer for him. But how do you balance keeping money in the hobby or taking it out? And like, are you putting a lot of new money in, or is a lot of the money that you're building your collection and investment with funds you're profiting off flips? Like, how does the whole finances work on how you kind of structure things?
Yeah, so I think initially I put a lot of money in, and I'm the kind of person that likes to have a certain amount in my personal account. And so over the past couple of years, I've always been able to maintain that level without going up or down. So, there's times where I spend a lot more or a lot less, but yeah, I think a lot of the money I put in now is mostly profit and from sales I make. But I do have a large position in a lot of things that I don't necessarily sell and put money back in like I would if I was full time. If I was full time, I'd basically sell everything all the time. But
so
yeah,
you basically just kind of the hobby is kind of self-sustaining now.
yeah. I mean, I do everything based off feel. So like, I don't put like price numbers and goals on things because I don't need to sell things, right? I have a whole full time position where I have my income that's able to pay for my bills. So my answer is a little more boring when it comes to that. So.
Well, no, because that's what most people like are probably striving to. Like, I mean, most people aren't going to be full-time sellers or even try to sell anywhere near as much. So like, I mean, I think it's good to hear. So like, once you get enough position built up and you've done enough flips and you got enough like I guess things coming in and grades and all that stuff, it kind of gets to the point where you're not even having to put any more of your regular income in. It's just you selling profits from the hobby, being able to keep some, sell some, stuff like that type thing.
Yeah, it's all self-sustaining at this point. I don't really put, at least my bank account doesn't go under a certain number usually. So it's pretty self-sustaining at this point.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I wouldn't recommend to anyone going full-time Pokemon unless you are crazy and you already have. I mean, okay, let me be a little bit more serious.
Yeah, because Josh, for real though, because like I'm just getting into this.
Yeah.
So yeah, as detailed as you want to be, kind of take us through like how you go about actually taking an income to like live off of, while also trying to continue to keep more inventory coming in and continue to build your business and grow at the same time. It's not easy.
Yeah, and it's not one of those things that on the base level, when you just look at it from the outside looking in, and you look at like all these no-brainer plays, like you look at the felt hat Pikachu and you kind of do the quick math in your head, you're like, well, if I buy a couple of these for 150 and grade them and flip them for 300 or 400, there's no way I'm going to lose on this. I could just do that 100 times. But like in reality, that doesn't end up working because you get a couple of them, they're nines, and then you're like, shoot, I don't want to have to then that's my capital. That's $1,000 ate up in nines and a month of grading fees. And now I have to just sit here and wait. Like, I don't want to go through that risk again. So you start doing less risky plays, not because you don't want the home run plays, you don't know they're there, but because you're like, okay, suddenly I can't take as much risk as when I had a full-time job, and that failure isn't going to hurt me because I have my paycheck next Friday to lean on, and I'm not going to be like sitting into my capital or eating into my capital by having these fails. So it's a little bit more nuanced than just picking the best, most profitable thing at the time, like the hot thing on YouTube, and doing that 100 times. You have to spread yourself out a little bit more. At least that's what I've found, in order to be able to predict and maintain enough sales across a moving market that you're not going to just be tearing your hair out. And as you can see, I can still have all my hair right now. And I have not torn all my hair out yet, which is wild to me because I literally don't have any other source of income. I get $40 a month from YouTube, basically, from my monetization. I'm very, very small channel here. So like, I can't survive off of $40 a month. I can barely survive for one day in California on $40. That's not to include rent and everything. So it's definitely all have to come from the cards. And so you really end up over time ending up going for, you're like, why is this guy grading, $5, $10 cards and going for the $20 profit? He's not going for the $100, $200 profit. He's a square. He's like low IQ. It's like, no, because those are less risky. And those are things that I have learned over time. I'm not going to race to the bottom on certain things because you can play to the race to the bottom every time if you want to, but it's freaking exhausting. And it's also not that profitable unless you're at the top, really. And then you have a lot of inventory that you didn't have plans for, that your initial plan was just to sell, that you didn't have an out for. So like there are lots of nuance to what I specifically do in grading. And that's why I showed the mystery bag listing that I had on my eBay and like explain the nuance behind that, because like that's the only reason I can have those fails. And then like it's also important to probably have a distributor and sell enough stuff that you can build like customers that you can more or less break even selling things and have a relationship on things that are not great, so that when great things come, you can take advantage of it. I can't tell you how crappy I was feeling about modern sealed Pokemon and buying from my distributor before 151 hit. I know what everyone's going to say in the chat, like it takes time, and that's just not the time. I've heard it all, and I agree with all of that. But that doesn't change the fact that I was making no money buying from my distributor and just cycling my money for all those sets from Crown Zenith until 151 hit. And I suddenly was able to make a boatload of money. And actually for booster bundles, I get them for like $18, $17 from a distributor. And I sold them for like $40, $45 each. It's dumb.
I think breaking even's underrated.
And breaking even is not something you ever plan to do. But when you do break even on your failures, it's different than breaking even on all your successes, because you're not breaking even on successes. I hope successes are better than breaking even, and I hope it's not all failures. But breaking even on what you would consider failures, or even going a little under breaking even, is not the worst thing in the world. So you do have to swallow your pride a little bit after a certain amount. And when you have like a full-time job, or you live in mommy and daddy's house and you got someone paying the bills for you, or you just don't have to rely on the money year in and year out, or month in and month out from the flipping, it's a lot easier just to decide like, well, I'm just going to wait until it doubles or triples or quadruples and just not do it because you got your paycheck from Wendy's coming in next weekend. So it's one of those situations you have to just, it's different for everyone. But yeah, I would say after you go through your personal collection stash and you've sold through all your inventory, I don't have a personal collection. Like that's not, I did when I first started, and I don't have one really anymore. I have a couple PSA 1s I have, that booster box that's behind me, and like a few little things, sentimental. But like after you go through that, you have to make money on everything, and you can't really lose money overall. You have to, otherwise you're going to go back to working at Wendy's. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, the whole break even thing, it's like it all has to do with volume, because if you could do enough volume, you could legitimately break even on your sealed product every single time, and you could make a living. And what I mean by that is, if you could get to the point where you're moving $200,000 and $300,000 of sealed product each release, and you're breaking even, if you've got a credit card with 2%,
I was about to say those two,
you're making $4,000 just in rewards.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Breaking even
makes sense to break even
with volume. It has to be volume though, and then you need to factor in the work that goes into that volume, because if it's different for like me and you, who in the daytime when our friends and the people watching this podcast are likely at their jobs, and you, Ponga, at your 9-to-5 job, we're sitting here and we have the time to do that kind of thing, whereas you don't necessarily have the time to ship out 50 boxes when you get off from your job at the end of the night. You're tired from working. You want to go watch the newest Netflix Loki show or whatever, the Jujutsu Kaisen that just came out. You don't want to go do work, but you're told you have to grind to get to that next level because that's success. So you go and work that side hustle, and you go and go to the convention, and I'm over that, man. I'm not trying to get like rich. I'm trying to like have a good time with it, subsist, do something I can be proud of and do for a while. And I agree with a lot of what you say on your channel, Alex. I think that the long term of Pokemon is very strong. And regardless of how I'm painted as like a bear, I have a bear hat I wear sometimes for fun. Like I'm very, very bullish on Pokemon. Like I wouldn't do this, if I wasn't really bullish on it. But it's important to make note there is some level of risk associated too. Yeah.
I mean, with me, I'm not there yet. So I haven't even started worrying about having taken income. So in construction sales or in home, like home improvement sales, you get paid a little differently. It's what I was doing before this. Is you get half your money when you sell the job, you get the other half when the jobs are installed. So I still have paychecks coming in. Like I haven't worked in months. I still get paid. And so I haven't ran out of my half of my salary basically yet. And also like I have some other things going on, like other source of income. So I haven't got to that point. My goal is January. Like January, I've been selling a lot of stuff. I've made some good gains. I've sold off some seal products, sold my one piece product. And so I've been building up tons of cash in my account. And come January, I'm going to set it up on direct deposit. And so every month it's going to direct deposit a salary into my, personal account. And so that's when I'm really going to start feeling the kind of the time crunch and like, okay, now we're not just, having all this money to slosh around and play around with. Now you're taking this amount of money out for a salary every month. You got to keep making inventory. You got to keep making plays. You got to get money coming in because you don't have an endless amount to do this with anymore. So I'll be able to speak on that a lot more going forward. But for right now, I haven't had to really feel the pain of that. That's why I wanted to hear your take on it, because it's a whole different thing when you actually have to start taking money out of the hobby than just, kind of building your collection for free or maybe putting a little money in using some of your own profits and keep, building up, or every month, with your paychecks, you're able to put $500, $1,000 and buy some more product and stack it up. And it's a completely different animal. So January, February, March, like we're really going to see how things start going for sure.
Yeah, and as the market has turned, I've found myself taking more and more money off the table, off the profits, and shaving. And like to what we were talking about, like when you're full time with another job and you're doing Pokemon for fun on the side, when you make $1,000 sale and you look at that $1,000 sale, and it costs you $800 to get that $1,000, you look at that $200 as pure profit. You're like, well, cool. I got that $800 and then I got extra $200. Now I can turn that $800 into $1,000 for free and turn that into $2,000 and kind of go up and up. That's what you think of it as like a normal person. But as a reseller or as someone who's full time, that's not how it works. That $200 extra you made isn't just easy. You can't just turn that into a bigger and better play and keep doubling. You then have to take that same $800, do it again, and use that $200 to pay your electricity, your bills, your mortgage, your gas, your vet bills. All these things have to come out of that profit. So then if you do have a little left over after that, your $800 turns it into $850, $856. So then you got an extra $56 to make the same play. So what do? Obviously, you go to the same thing you just sold for $800 and $1,000, you do the same thing again, right? Oh, what happens when you go and eBay that thing? It's a competition. It's gone down a little in price now. Now there's another seller selling for $900. Well, shit. Sell for $899. You're still making $50 on it. Do it again. Bang, brother. Do it. Do it again. Bang, bang, bang. You made $50 more. Now so you see what I'm saying? It very quickly, that math doesn't add up very quickly if you really look at it.
Do you guys ever take advantage of any like the higher tier grades, like for the rush grading for the first to market?
So
what's the highest you go?
So I typically don't. But with the felt hat Pikachus, I was using the Value Plus when their $35 special was there, and it was basically a week turnaround. So I got it back in hand a week after I dropped it off. And
what was that? Is that the $40?
Yeah, it's a $40 tier, but it was like there was a special at 35, and it was literally a 5 business day turnaround. So it's like,
yeah, I've been using that a little more lately. It's a lot faster than I realized.
Yeah.
When you have only a couple submissions out, it makes sense to do that. But for me, I have so many I have like 3 to 4 subs of like 50 plus cards going at all times, basically. And so I don't use any higher tiers. I send every single thing at bulk. I know I should be.
Well, what about that the TCG Classic you just opened?
That's
you didn't send those express or anything? No, wow.
No, I send a bulk. And it's going to be done probably in the next couple of weeks. I won't be the first to market. But I don't play first to market. I do not I've said it. It's not me capping. I'm not lying. It's not like me behind the scenes going and playing first to market. I strictly don't do that. Like the felt hat Pikachus, I got on all from my own. I didn't buy extras of it or anything. I got them from my own order on the website. And I do believe that that's not something I have to rush on. I could have sold them first to market for like $600 or $700. I'd rather have them for shows over the course of the next year for like 500 cash, as they go up in price over time. And if they don't, I'll sell them for closer to market price. But that's a card I'm speculating a little more on. It's the felt hat Pikachu. And in my podcast, I talked a little bit about that too. But
how many subs to cut your hair?
if I got to 100,000 subs, I would cut my hair, but I'd lose
Clip
at least
it.
80,000 of those. I would at least lose 80,000 of those of that 100,000 if I cut it. So it'd be bittersweet, but that would be enough that I could justify it because I would be making enough of that, that money. Because right now, the $40 a month on YouTube, I really need to pump my YouTube more. I've been doing weekly videos and like a couple a week now, because that's something during the pandemic that I'm mad at myself for not pushing harder when everyone was pumping harder. The YouTube, like growing a channel in Pokemon in the time of the pandemic was so much better. And I was around on YouTube at that time. Like, what was I doing? Like nothing.
Brutal,
I was on Whatnot. So
YouTube.
Shameless plug for your channel, but Cardboard Hands is probably my favorite podcast out there. So
you say that, but I don't. It's like I don't believe it because there are so many good. Thank you, by the way, thank you. But there are so many good Pokemon podcasts out there, so I can't believe that. But I greatly appreciate that.
I love it.
There's about to be a new one coming the first of the year.
You're gonna. Did you find? Oh, dude, let's go. Is that something? I'm excited. Okay, that's good. I'm happy to hear that. I need more content to watch and podcasts, Pokemon podcasts, long form content. It's not for everyone, but for me, as like someone who does this and like has to have something in the background, and for people who commute too. Like if you commute or you work from home or you work at an office job and you just have a long time where you can have a earphone in, it's so gratifying to be able to provide this for people like that, because I remember when I did that and it meant a lot to me. So like when people leave those comments on the channel, like on the YouTube, like saying, hey, thanks for the content, you may think it doesn't mean anything, and I may not even respond to it all the time. It means a lot, because that's like why I think, and I can speak for you guys too, is like that's why we do this. It's like it means so much.
Yeah. So I got someone asked, do you make more selling packs, booster boxes, or singles? It's always going to be singles, always, right?
Singles have lately been cooking, but it's different times. Like, I mean, what would you say on this, Ponga? Because I know you've probably been selling for the last year and you've seen the difference of what things, but it's changed a lot in the last year, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I've been selling for like 3 years now, but it I don't want to be the fence sitter, but it's like all three of them could be the answer, because like there was times where you could open sealed product and sell the packs for 50% more than what the sealed product sells for. So I mean during the pandemic, a lot of like there was sealed tins, and the play's gone now, so it doesn't matter. But you could buy tins for like $40 and open the packs, and there was like $150 worth of packs inside. You could open a $120 tin and get $400 of packs inside. So like it really depends what the market looks like at the time. Now, what I will say consistently, if you're able to source singles at a good price, you could probably get a higher margin.
I mean, Charizard UPCs are on their way to that kind of play here soon.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much out there that if you really look at it,
ETBs have been there for a long time. You could still break those, dude. You're not gonna pump it. There's nothing to say about Hidden Fates. There's nothing we can say that'll pump it. Hidden Fates is, I don't know what's up with it, but you can still buy ETBs and make money on them.
I mean, it's not like that great a margin.
I had like hundreds of Hidden Fates tins, right, that I was able to order from like Target online and GameStop online for $20 a piece. I couldn't sell them locally for $30 a piece in 2020, but I was able to open them and sell them for $15 a pack on TCG Player, left and right. So I was able to sell.
Say that. What are you saying?
So back during the pandemic, you were able to buy Hidden Fate tins at MSRP all over the place, and you couldn't sell them sealed for $30. Mm-hmm. But you could open them and sell the packs for $15 a piece.
Can confirm, when I was on Whatnot selling Hidden Fates, I was able to basically buy ETBs for like $100 or $120 and sell the packs for like $20, or $25 even in some cases, all day long.
That's Whatnot. That's streaming.
No, that was pretty much all around at that time.
But is that like that's not like eBay TCG player price? That's a streamer price.
When I was selling it at like 20 or 25, it would be at like 20. Probably, or like 17 or something. It'd be a few dollars less, but it was very high back in 2020. Hidden Fates got pumped hard, man. Like,
I just didn't pay attention to like the single pack. So you're saying that the same time the tins were $30, you could sell the packs for $15 each?
They were like $29.99 online because they were $19.99 in stores, and you could get them from Amazon for $29.99. And I remember,
I remember the cases being like, the cases were like what, like 300 and something.
Yeah, that's where I got in with my distributor. Was when I got tired of like driving around for Hidden Fates. I actually like looked into what it would take to get a distributor and got that all set up so that I could start buying in bulk. Shout out to Kirkland and Costco. My family has always bought everything in bulk. Like we lived in the country in Oklahoma, like 30 minutes outside of town. To get to the bus that I had to take to get to school, we had to drive like 10 or 15 minutes. And it was like, that was then a 20-minute bus ride after that drive too. So we were out there. So we bought everything in bulk. So
someone who's one of the most against the Midwest. You grew up in the Midwest.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's why I'm so against it. I lived there, dude. Of course. How could anyone who lives there say anything otherwise? Like, it's quiet, yeah, but there's no money there. That's all. And I love the Midwest. There's nothing against the Midwest. It's just I won't sell in the Midwest because there's no money to be made, in my opinion. That's all. For Pokemon, that's all.
Oh, that's funny. Question.
Yeah, my family's all from there. I lived there for a while, and I know how dirt poor it can be in some places.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you're probably right. Follow up to the previous question. Do you ever open up products to get those singles, or is it too much of a gamble to chase one expensive card? No, I mean, I think there's a lot of products, actually, in my opinion, that different stages and different times where, you can open a bunch of that product. And, I mean, if you're grading, grade a bunch of the singles. And if you get enough of the good grades, it actually pays for opening all the products, especially when you can sell the packs off. I mean, there's always those plays. I mean, I think 151 UPCs were that play not too long ago, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I feel like like we just said, Hidden Fates ETBs, you can open up and just literally open it and sell the packs on TCG Player, like $17 a pack, whatever they go for. And then you could either sell the Birds promo raw for like 15 or 20 bucks, and then there's your profit. Or you
they all grade 10.
You grade it and you get a 10 and there's your $60 profit. So
yeah, I think the sealed products make sense. Now opening the packs in the sealed product probably doesn't make sense. Just the margin's probably there to just buy the single and grade it, right? I think that's what the question's kind of getting to.
Yeah.
If
you're thinking of opening packs, no, you need to stop, get help, don't. Michael Jordan meme, don't stop. Don't open packs for money. Open it for fun and know that it's a gamble and you're likely not going to pull. Dude, just don't open packs. Like, can we all just agree that it's not a good idea to open packs? And this is me being an ex-pack breaker. I used to break packs for people for a living. I still would tell people not to do it. You should always buy the singles, but this hobby loves to gamble, so they will always open packs. So,
what's weird is when I got back in the hobby, you could actually open packs, which is crazy. It's crazy as that sounds. Like Jungle First and Fossil First. I mean, I opened multiple of those boxes. It is weird how like it almost became worthless to open any packs now. Everything's so optimized and all the sealed product is so overpriced compared to what the cards are. It has kind of went away, unfortunately.
I think there's probably going to be some arbitrage among Japanese products and opening packs. If you were really good at grading and if you had a good eBay store and you knew what you're looking for and you actually looked at populations and you played like the speculation game and you kind of found a buyer for some of those things, since Japanese has such good quality control, and there's some of that's like still desirable in low population, because even though I don't like Japanese, a lot of people love it. A lot of that stuff goes for really high prices, and a lot of it you can just grade right out of the pack. So I don't know Japanese well enough to say that there's plays for opening it, but I bet you there's some arbitrage plays there, but I don't know.
Dude, was it Ponga? Was it you and Ray when I opened that box? Was that you?
Yeah, Ray.
The Pokemon Go box, it was Ray.
Okay, I didn't know if you were there too, but like, and Ray said, he's like, here, this is almost a guaranteed win. I gotta be honest. He was right. Okay, so I opened the Pokemon Go. I graded the Eevee and the Ditto. They both came back 10s. I ended up selling both of them on eBay, I think, for $40 each. And so even after grading fees, I ended up basically making the money for the box back. I sold out the rest of the singles. I ended up making a profit opening the box. So I don't know what to say. I guess
yeah. Pokemon Go is it gets way too much hate. I mean, the Japanese version, you're getting a guaranteed Radiant and the radiants that are in the set are all very good. And you basically have like a 25% chance to get the Charizard, which is almost going to pay for the box itself when you grade it. I actually did open a Pokemon Go box and did the same thing as you, just to test it, and made double, triple my money on it. But yeah,
I didn't do that well. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, that was like when it first came out. You in Charlotte, you bought it when it was.
Yeah.
Now, when you say double, triple your money, those boxes are only like $20. So we're only about 20 or 30 bucks here. So
it was
don't
like
be too excited, chat here. It's not big bucks or anything.
No, it's not huge bucks, but it's like a $40 box that you're able to, after fees and grading, you're able to grade the Charizard, grade the Ditto. I did the same thing and graded like a few of the other hits and do pretty well on it. Now, if that's still the case, I don't know, but there definitely is always going to be some product out there that if you do it, if you play the odds enough and do it in bulk, you could probably make a decent amount of money on it.
Do neither one of you do any like bulk openings? Like, I mean, Josh, you got distributor. Do you not open anything? No.
So yes and no. I buy a lot of the other products, like for example, the poster collection, like from 151, it had the 3 starters in it. I bought so much of that stuff, but not with the intention of selling those promos, but just to break down and get the promos so that I could speculate on them. So I do buy and break down product to speculate on it, but I bought it to sell the packs at conventions and live, whatever, in person, and then I could just have those promos. So I have a big old stack of those promos, and I love those things. So I do break down product, but I don't ever open packs, to your point.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've thought about that in the past. Like, if I found a way to get, product earlier and be able to, try to play that race, I guess, a little race to the bottom game. But also, I think it has a lot to do with being set up on TCG Player for the pre-release, because you can get really high prices on pre-release for a lot of those singles on TCG Player.
You have to be a brick and mortar store, though. Yeah. So even when I have a business and everything like that, I've been selling, I have a 4-star rating and all these things on there. They won't let me pre-sell either. So,
well, I've also looked into that, and there are stipulations with a brick and mortar. Like, yeah, I was like, I'll just get some like cheap, way off the beaten path office building for $800 a month. No, it's got to be like a commercial shopping district.
Yeah. TCG Player, there's opportunity there, and it's like all about your goals. Like that's the thing about Pokemon, and especially with collecting, whether it's selling, collecting, whatever it is, it's all about your individual goals. And as long as you can you don't even have to be realistic about your goals. As long as you have goals and you're trying to kind of get there, and you're thinking about how you're going to get there, you'll probably do okay. When I hear people when I ask them at the table, I'm like, hey, what do you collect? Or what species do you like? They're like, I don't know. I collect everything. All I can think is, ooh, that's rough, man. That's rough. I always say, man, that's rough. Your wallet must be hurting then. I always tell them, like, there was a long time where I did that, but I had to very quickly learn that I had to really focus on what I wanted, because if I didn't, you just literally go for anything and everything. You spread yourself way too thin. So it's important to have a plan, right? And so if TCG Player, for example, if your plan is to just sell singles and you want to just, PWE, plain white envelope, and kind of do that grind and, pack your orders in the middle of the day, go to your 5,000 count box back here and look through it and have your back hurt after you're from bending over looking for cards. That's how, if you tell me that you've sold cards on TCG Player, I won't believe you unless you tell me how much your back hurt after a while from doing it. Because if your back didn't hurt after doing it, I don't know. You probably haven't sold enough on TCG Player. That's all.
What you got to do is you got to get shelves where the boxes are at like head length, so you can just kind of walk over and peek in.
I mean, mine aren't too bad. They're like right here. Like, so I end up just doing kind of like this motion.
I can see your back's kind of hurt, right? I can just see it happening.
It's even that motion though is a lot, right? So yeah, maybe it is about being set up better, but you got to sell a lot of TCG. Now my TCG Player account is frozen because I don't think it's worth it. So like, that's not my goal anymore. I was trying to fund a whole trip to Disneyland strictly selling my bulk. That was why I started my TCG shop again last year. It was something my fiance and I did together. We sorted the bulk, and I was like, hey, if you help me sort through all this and I start up a TCG Player, if we can make all the money on here to go to Disneyland, we'll use strictly that to go. And she did, and we did it. But after that first trip, I was like, nope, not doing this anymore. It was a lot of work. So
yeah, Mason's losing employees from back hurting injuries.
Yeah, I mean, it literally hurts pulling cards. Like, and he's not joking. I think he's partially joking. Like, he's not joking about that. He's being a little tongue in cheek about it, but he's agreeing, I think. But it literally can be backbreaking work, sorting cards and all that kind of stuff. It's not the weight itself; it's just the motion, the repetitive motion. You know,
It's just so amazing. Like that's why I love talking to all you guys. It's just hearing everyone's different strategy. I mean, I talk to people. I literally just talked to a guy that I've known for a long time at the local show he was at, and he's like, I got a small eBay store, but like 99% of my business is all TCG player. It's all we do. I'm just like, okay. And you know, other people that are like strictly eBay, they're trying to like play the eBay game and like list every day, try to get their ranking up and all this, and like it's all about eBay. And then like you're all about in person, and like it's really, you know, incredible to see everyone's different like strategies and how it's all kind of working in its own way. Like with Ponga's deal, it's just like building this massive collection, massive sealed inventory over time, and you know, like hobbies funding itself, and you know, it's just I just think it's crazy how, you know, how many different ways there is to be successful, and to not really care about like if you're not, you know, doing as good as this person or that person in each area, that, you know, you could find your own niche anywhere.
That's so important. And for me personally, that was something that would hold me back in my own mental state. And I would beat myself up over it. I still do. Even knowing this, I still do it. And I have to remind myself. So having these like reminders and streams and like being able to give that advice, it helps remind me at that point too, to not compare yourself. Because like, I think, what was it? Comparison is the thief of joy or something. Was
yes,
that's the saying, yeah.
But it's very apt. It's very fitting because it's true in a lot of things, and especially when it comes to like how you're doing, and as long as you can objectively look at what you're doing, be proud of it, and say it's working for you. You can take what other people are doing and look at it and like, you know, take it and let it work, but don't let it like get you down. I feel like don't compare yourself, because nobody's the same. Everyone's situation is different. Nobody has the same advantages or disadvantages. Like, we all have our strengths, and you have to play towards that.
What do you guys want to say in closing, man? We've been going almost 2.5 hours. I figured we gave them enough. How do you want to end it? What do you got to say? I mean, I know you can go ahead and pump all your stuff again, Josh. Ponga.
I'm gonna wait till the end for that.
Great. I don't know how much I can pump that. There's like no post, but
I just really quickly want to touch on one question I saw. So someone was like asking, because I was bringing up like breaking down product for packs, is how you store them over a long period of time. So cheaper packs, I just throw them in like a bin and with no protection. But if you do have some more expensive packs, I actually there's a website, Superior Fit, and they make modern booster pack sleeves that are pretty affordable. And so I'll put them in that sleeve, and then for like my vintage packs, I put that sleeve into like a Tarot sleeve, which is like an Ultra Pro, like thicker plastic sleeve. And it actually really makes it nice and straight and flat, and it kind of protects like a rigid barrier on the outside. So that's how I store all mine.
I stored mine in my mystery packs for the conventions.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, are you talking about like high-end, like vintage stuff, or are you talking about like what kind of packs do you have like?
Oh, me? I mean, my goal, I mentioned earlier, is to have one every pack. So by the nature, like I have some.
I mean, you're not doing that for like a whole bunch of, you know, celebrations.
Yeah, not large quantity. Yeah, well, the large quantities I have, they're like $5 packs, right? So I just throw them in like one of those. Like I have one right here. It's like a 3 drawer tower that I just fill with packs. Okay. They're gonna be fine.
5,000 count 5-row boxes work well for large amounts of modern boosters, because that's where I store. So yeah, I think this question may also be asking about modern, like large amounts for like breaking it down. And just for the sake of simplicity, these things, either these ones that hold the slabs, the shoe boxes for slabs would work, but they're a little big. But the regular 5,000 count, I can't lift it up. It's too heavy. It's filled with packs, and you already heard it. My back hurts already. But those work really well for storing a large amount of packs. You just don't put the top on it because it squishes them a little bit, and you kind of keep them on your shelf, but you can store so many packs there. And I can't imagine that if you're like putting a bunch of packs on your shelf like that you're going to need more than that, because that's like a lot. So, but if you do, just put it on a shelf next to it.
Yep.
Did you want to add anything to that, man? I mean, I know you answered that question, but did you want to say anything in closing?
In closing, so you want to, so yeah, anyway, thank you. Anyway, all of you guys to close out the stream, I want to say thank you to the chat for being here. You guys are goats. I say this at all the lives, that you're not even people. You're barnyard animals, little turds, little pellets, and you're eating, grass. And it amazes me. You're goats.
What?
That's what it means when you call people a goat, right? That's what it means. So I don't know why that's a good thing, but it's apparently a good thing. So I'm going to say that to you guys. You're goats. But you're also good people, as well as the barnyard animals. Most of you are. And go to the Discord if you ever want to hear more about live selling, or not hear more about it, but if you want to see if there's a local convention in your region. I don't advocate going and spending $1,000 on your first CollectCon to go travel across the country to have potentially a bad time. I advocate going to a local show, much lower stakes, within an hour or two drive of your community, where you can go on a Saturday or a Sunday with a couple of your buddies who collect, and you can have a good time. Go to the Discord, join. It is free. I will have listing. There are already shows in all of the regions of the United States posted in a nice, easy to use format. And I'm going to be making a Google Calendar, and I'll be transferring all of the shows for the year onto the Google Calendar and sharing it with the whole Discord. So it'll be a little easier to kind of plan if you do want to travel or plan. So I appreciate you having me on and letting me pump the Discord, but I do honestly believe it'll be a very useful resource for a lot of you guys, and I promise I will never put it behind a paywall. I plan to monetize it in other ways, so I'm not a saint. There are ways that I can make money off of the Discord without having to put it behind a paywall. I can start my own convention eventually, a card convention, and then when I need to advertise, I have all the sellers and all the people who would go to the convention all in one spot, so I can have that sell out immediately all in my own Discord. So like, there are ways I can benefit off of it, and everyone else can benefit off of it, and it's a whole win-win, and I don't have to charge monthly for it. And I'll never do that for this Discord. Maybe for a different something, but for this, I want it to be a free public resource that I want to build out and curate, so that because everyone always asks, like, where's the next show? What can I do this? Why is it not all in one place? And like, I want to make that one place so people can go there and have a good place to have that information. So
yeah, guys, and I guess the big reason too I had them two on is, like, Ponga, he's got nothing to pump. Like, I mean, he's got an Instagram he barely uses.
Hey, no, wait. Click on the link in the description. Ponga Collectibles, my Instagram. I just started posting on it, so I do plan to start using that as a way to drive people that either enjoy talking to me or looking at my collection. So I do plan to start posting there. So that I do have something to pump, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, same with Josh though. Like, he's got like all his in-person events. Yeah, he's got some eBay and TCG player stuff. He has a YouTube channel. You can check that out too. But I mean, the Discord, it's free. Like, guys, I'm in it. I mean, it literally just has all the different regions, all the different events. So if you live wherever you live, you're gonna be able to find an event to go to, and it's just nice to know what's going on. Like, it's just I think a lot of people here are just trying to help people out. It's not all about money and evil investors and evil scalpers and all this. Like, I think everyone's just trying to find a way to enjoy the hobby. Some of us are trying to make a living off of it, and it just kind of is what it is. So make sure to support these guys, and I'm sure you'll see them on the channel again sometime. So that is it for us tonight.
Wow,